Cool.
Okay, we got there eventually. Welcome everyone to the beer o'clock fuck up. It's nice to have you here. Supported by Thornbridge tonight, we'll be trialling Thornbridge Kipling. There we go. Amongst a host of other beers, we've got a load of different people here tonight, some of whom the beer Twitter community may know by name, by face, or by reputation. We're going to get a quick round of introductions in. Steve, you can handle that because you know everyone better than I do.
Okay. So let's just go from there.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So yeah. Welcome, everyone. I guess this is new for us. You're not used to seeing our faces. You just normally get to hear us. So there's a few of us online tonight. So we're just gonna just do a quick round of introductions. So working along my screen as I'm seeing it at the bottom to my left, Steve. The stage is yours. Please introduce yourself. Who are you and what are you drinking?
Hi, my name's Steve, East London, and tonight I'll be drinking, as well as the Kipling, probably a bit of oxymoron from Motley Brewery.
Okay, welcome, Steve. And Steve, where can people find you on Twitter?
Rio Barlow.
Fantastic. Okay, moving next along my screen. No stranger to being on video, this man. Rob, would you like to introduce yourself, mate?
Hi, I'm Rob from Hopsy.com. I'm currently drinking, in a very shameless way, a bottle of Brewdog Dead Metaphor, brewed in collaboration with myself and Richard Taylor.
So you're actually drinking your own beer. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Let's see if anybody can
not to wear the t-shirt.
Actually, he's drinking my beer.
You wait your turn, you, at the end there. Next along, Miles, welcome to the Lockin. Would you like to introduce yourself, mate?
Hi, Miles from Newcastle. I'm currently drinking Citrus Star from Anarchy Brewery, and it's fantastic.
Thank you very much. Miles, where can people find you on Twitter?
At Miles Lambert. That's straightforward.
Okay, great stuff. And then next on my screen, the Beer O'Clock Show's #1 fan himself. It's Doody. Introduce yourself, mate.
Hello.
Seriously? Is that all we're getting out of it?
I'm Michael, fan of the show, sometimes home brewer, currently waiting to get into a Kipling.
Yeah, I think we're all waiting to get into the Kipling after the delayed start. So let's move through these introductions quickly. Next on my list is Carl. Carl,
hello.
The stage is yours, my friend.
Home brewer from Coventry in the UK. I've got quite a few beers to be trying later. Got Rogue, Beavertown, and what else have we got? I think I can't remember. Siren, that's what I've got coming up later.
Excellent. We'll look forward to hearing your thoughts on those. Next on my screen is a man that needs no introductions. It's the co-host of the Beer O'Clock Show. Mark, how are you doing, mate?
Oh, buddy, I'm stressed.
Now we've sorted the technical difficulties. Are you okay?
I'm alright. I'm just waiting for. I'm missing a couple of people. I don't know if they've missed the second round of invites or not, or the 15th round of invites. Trying to get this shit sorted, but yeah.
Okay.
I'm waiting to get into this Kipling along with Mike. So.
Okay. Well, there's just one more man to introduce. It's the man in the silly hat. It's the voice that you would have heard on Beer O'Clock Show a couple of times. It's 11 p.m. somewhere. Ian, welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing?
I am awesome and epic, coming to you from a little island to the west of you all with my great, fantastic Galway Bay Extra IPA Goodbye Blue Monday.
That was full 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. So, for those of you that maybe aren't familiar with what we're planning on doing this evening, we've got this assembled group of distinguished guests, or a motley crew, as some may call them. The idea is we're going to crack into Thornbridge's Kipling in a minute. We're going to do a collective review of that, because Thornbridge have very kindly supported this venture that we're doing here by supplying the beer. After that, it's a bit of a free-for-all in terms of what people are going to drink and what we're going to share and what we're going to talk about, really. We're here until the last man closes the door. I'm not going to steal anyone's thunder, though, but for those of you that might have listened to Ian's 11 PM Somewhere podcast, that's his closing line. So I'm going to let him call time on this evening when we feel good and ready, basically. So we could be here for an hour, we could be here for a couple of hours. I may very well go to bed and get up in the morning and still find a couple of you online. Who knows? But without further ado, I think because everybody is gasping for a beer, let's crack into this Kipling and let's see what we think of it. So,
Steve,
crack your bottles, guys. Yeah.
Steve, can you just, sorry for a bit of housekeeping, can you invite Matt, because I didn't have his original details?
Yes, I will invite him in. Okay, you all get into your beer and enjoy that, and I'll just be inviting people in.
We've tweeted about this, we put it on the show and on the website and everything, so this beer has been kindly provided by our friends at Thornbridge. It is Kipling, which is a South Pacific Pale Ale, 5.2% ABV, and it is tonight's featured beer. And after we get into this, everyone will be getting into the remains of their beer collection and sharing a wide variety of different beers with us.
Okay, so just as we're pouring, we have got another guest joined us. Matt has joined us. I'm seeing his picture. I'm not hearing any audio yet. Matt, are you there?
He's on his way in. And Chris and Emma have joined us as well.
Okay, so I think... Are we back to our full complement? Matt, are you there? Hello, Matt? Chris, Emma?
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome back, guys. Sorry for the fuck-ups.
Guys, we just did a quick round of introductions. Seeing as I'm getting you coming through, would you just like to very quickly introduce yourselves to anybody that's watching?
Well, us?
Yes, you.
Oh,
Chris and Emma. Yes, us. Please.
Hello. We are based in South London, and we are homebrewers and beer bloggers.
Okay, and what would people know you as on Twitter, guys?
I'm Femto Brewster.
I'm Crimmer Brewery.
Excellent. And Matt, are you now with us as well?
I think the expression on his face says everything.
I think it might have a slight delay. Matt, are you there, buddy?
I'm there, but I'm watching you on YouTube and also on there.
Oh.
That's hardcore.
You're skewing our numbers, buddy.
So is this some sort of vanity thing that you're watching yourself live at the same time, or was that the only way that you could find us, was by actually watching us?
I think he's using up all his bandwidth doing that.
Yeah. I don't think he's hearing me when I talk. Must be the accent.
I'm here, yes. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Hello, hello. Cool. Is everyone cracking into the Kipling
I'm here.
now? Okay, mate.
Yes.
There's the delay.
Let's do the beer. Let's do the beer. Is everybody? Yep. I'm seeing glasses up all along the bottom of my screen, which is fantastic. Okay, we got there eventually. Let's get into the beer then. Who wants to go first? Anybody? Because I don't want to keep going along the bottom of my screen, because that means I'm always picking on Steve. So.
Well, don't worry about. I'll go first.
Oh, go on then, mate. Seeing as you're a willing volunteer, what are your thoughts on the Kipling?
Well, to be honest, I've been gasping, and this has hit the spot superbly. Great grapefruit taste to it, kind of grassy, pine, you know. Oh, it's quality. I love it.
Yeah, I agree.
I was going to say, mate, you can't expect me to host the whole thing because there are going to be times when I'm drinking. so you are going to have to jump in occasionally.
It's really refreshing. Really refreshing.
It is.
Who said that? Who
Me,
was that
Carl.
one? Carl. Hi, sorry.
Hi.
I've got a real lag on my screen here as well, so I get it's like that you know that Two Ronnies sketch where they're answering they give the answer to Mastermind which is the next question coming along. It's a bit like that. I'm seeing people talking when they're not talking. My little pictures at the bottom are working perfectly. They're running perfectly to time, but it's the big one that's just so far behind. This is real car crash YouTube stuff here. I guess if those executives from Dave TV are watching, I think we've just lost the contract.
It's really, really drinkable as well. I've got through quite a bit of it already, actually.
Yeah, I'll just go and get mine.
Yeah, I think we've all built up a bit of a thirst while we were waiting.
Mr. Hopsy, what do you think of the Thornbridge Kipling, buddy?
Well, as far as I remember, it's all Nelson Sauvin hops. So this is going back to probably one of the early ranges of Thornbridge. So, as far as I remember, it was when Kelly Ryan was still the brewery manager. I think J.K., so formerly of Thornbridge, formerly of Buxton, now kind of like doing his own thing. So, I mean, very much the kind of brainchild of a couple of Kiwis. So, it's fantastic. It's always been a real favourite of mine from Thornbridge. I mean, as everybody said, it's massively drinkable. For me, the thing that stands out is pineapple. Loads of kind of like fresh, slightly underripened pineapple.
Miles.
The one thing I was going to add, I get a bit of creaminess from it.
Okay.
Yeah. Does it smell? Does it have like rice pudding or something?
Have you got the right beer?
Yeah. Have you washed that glass?
No, I don't know. It's the smoothness. I don't know what it is. But I think that's what makes it drinkable for me.
It is. It's very drinkable. It's going down very easy. I know we're all really thirsty, and I know we're all really keen to get into it. But there are massive flavours coming through in there, aren't there? And there's quite a nice. It's not an overly bitter finish, but there's a lovely soft bitter finish that's making you go back in for more.
That's the rice pudding.
That's the rice pudding, isn't it?
I actually fancy.
I'd love a rice pudding flavoured beer.
Emma, Chris, any thoughts on the Kipling?
It is very drinkable, yeah. I was surprised. It must be a long time since I've had it. It tastes very tame to me. Maybe my palate has evolved over the years. I mean, obviously it has a bit, but it's very tame in terms of its aroma and its flavour. Well, that's one of the things that makes it easily drinkable. And as you said, Steve, it has got a bitterness at the finish, but it's kind of like a mild bitterness, a mild, pleasant bitterness. It is very drinkable, but I would describe it as a tame beer, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that in a drinkable way.
I'm pretty sure Emma. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Emma and I had this at that first pub on the Christmas crawl that we went on.
I thought that earlier. Was it this or was it Wild Swan though?
It was this. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, we had it on cask, didn't we?
Yeah.
And it was really, really nice.
Mm.
But very drinkable, yeah.
A lot different from the bottle, I think.
I think so too, yeah.
I can imagine this working really well on cask. I can imagine the flavours really lending itself to a cask version of this.
It was good.
Yeah, in terms of what I thought of it, pretty much same as Emma. I do get a slight petrochemical smell off it, but that's from Nelson. You really get that with Nelson. It's not a bad smell, it's just that you're picking out the same notes that you would get in some petrochemical compounds. It's just a bit of a weird one. I become quite sensitive to it when you bring beers with Nelson in it, and that's what they've used in this. But yeah, it's very drinkable, very refreshing. Really light malt bill, lets the hops kind of come through. But yeah, for me, I find it a little bit tame.
Matt, what do you think of it?
Well, I noticed when I opened it, it had a sort of smell of cheap white wine about it. Sort of very winey. Grassy, lots of gooseberries, few tropical notes in there, but generally I just get cheap white wine. Anyone else get that?
Well, that kind of pans out because they say that's why it's called Nelson Sauvin, because of the kind of like similarities to the kind of Sauvignon Blanc.
Yes.
How about you, Duty?
Well, I can't really add much more to what's been said, but it's a bloody good beer. I'm definitely enjoying it. I've had it a few times before. Can get it in Waitrose, so it's kind of a staple.
Yeah, I'd say going back to I know a few of you might know this, but the bad old punk days, this sort of became a sort of stable replacement for that during those times when punk wasn't what it was supposed to be. It's very similar actually to punk, I think. Okay, if anyone else gets that.
As in the new punk.
Punk, as in a bass line over the last few years. It's sort of there.
Yeah, well, there is Nelson Sauvin in punk, so I mean, I guess. But I never think Nelson Sauvin has been the most kind of like standout hop within punk. I'm a big punk IPA fan, so I think this is a bit more kind of a one-note wonder, and it's a beautiful note, but it is all Nelson Sauvin, and for me, that's no bad thing.
No.
Well, I know what you mean. You mean all brewed on probably a similar scale. I mean, very little yeast profile, very little malt profile. As Miles was saying about the kind of rice pudding, for me, it's maybe like ice cream wafers, like ice cream cones, a little bit.
Yes.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah, I can. Now you've said that, you can kind of pick that up a little bit in there. There is that sweetness, isn't there?
You all mock me.
I don't think mocking is the word, really. I just we've got our first question coming in, so at least one person's watching this. So Simon Manchester at the Pieman 7 would like to know Kipling or Jaipur, which is better. Anybody want to answer that?
Kipling. Cask or keg?
I'll go Kipling as well, to be honest.
I'm going to rock the boat for me and say Jaipur. I think I prefer that to this.
You see, I'd say Kipling.
Steve, you're not allowed to say Halcyon.
No, yeah, there's only one Thornbridge beer in this house normally. It's interesting because I recently rediscovered Jaipur and it wasn't as punchy as I remember it, but then just taking on board what Emma was saying a few minutes ago, maybe that's because my tastes have moved on, and maybe actually now the Kipling is more reflective of the sort of beers that I like drinking. It's got much more of the profile and the finish that I enjoy.
Have you heard from our little friend across the sea yet, Ian?
No, he's sitting very quietly and patiently at the end. I'm wondering if he's actually fallen into that great big bottle of beer that he had.
No, it's not actually.
Are you there, mate? Come on, let's have your thoughts. Let's have your thoughts on the Kipling.
You see, when I think of Kipling, like this is all about New Zealand in a glass. This is about lychees. This is about Pacific fruits. A little bit of gooseberry in there. We're talking about people in grass skirts, fire wielders going crazy and everything else. And, it's everything that's about New Zealand, like bare-chested warriors running around the place and that little bit of, like, bravado that the Kiwis are great with. And it literally is, and Hopzine is so right. There is no maltiness here to worry about. There's no yeastiness here to worry about. Like, this is just a showcase and a big bravado showcase for New Zealand aromatics. And you know what? It does its job well. There's no problems with that.
Here.
Yeah.
Stunned silence.
We've just all been very polite at this stage.
Well, yeah, it's the first beer, isn't it? Or maybe the second in some people's cases.
Or even the third.
It's about the 15th beer I've had today.
Yeah, yeah. The fact that you can still talk then, mate, is a minor miracle. To be honest.
Professional, Steve. Professional.
That's it. There you go. That's the difference between 11 p.m. somewhere and the beer o'clock show, I guess.
No, but like this is like you can say what you like about this beer in terms of make references to Punk IPA. The Nelson Sauvin is a real easy sort of parallel to draw with the whole thing, but this is just purely about showcasing a New Zealand hop and Thornbridge's ability to work with New Zealand hop. I mean, very often we overlook just how important they have become in our beers in this part of the world. And this is just like a really clean example of let's just take some Nelson and just showcase exactly what Nelson is really good at. And that's being a really grapey, white winey, aromatic hop that's inoffensive and it's unobtrusive and it doesn't like allow you to hide behind anything else.
It's because you've got to think, when was this first kind of released? I mean, it's been around as long as I remember. I mean, being into this type of thing. So you're looking at about maybe 6-7 years. So this is a real kind of precursor to what I think we get in a lot of places now.
Exactly.
Let's just take it up a notch a little bit there. Let's talk about brewery for a minute. Let's talk about Thornbridge. I mean, they do produce consistently good beers. I can't think of a bad Thornbridge beer that I've ever had, or one of their beers that I said, you know what? No, I don't like that. I'm not going to drink it again. They just the consistency. I think they've got it just right across their range. Thoughts, anyone?
They're very consistent.
Yeah, absolutely.
I suspect that if they do a beer that you don't like, it's valid beer. It's not just that it's been brewed badly. It's just a style that you don't particularly like.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you look at a lot of their cask offerings, might not be all that kind of exciting, like the likes of like Brother Rabbit and things like that, which is kind of their hint towards like a best bitter. But I mean, if you go into Sheffield Tap, I mean, there'll be numerous Sheffield Wednesday fans having pints of that before they go down to Hillsborough. So yeah, I mean, I think the bottle range is a bit more kind of aimed at, I guess, two sides of the market. There's the Wild Swan, Jaipur, Kipling, which are aimed at quite a wide market, and then the more kind of Halcyon, St. Petersburg, and then the Bobby Hall stuff, which is definitely aimed at, I guess, the people you see in front of you today.
Well, think about Twin Peaks recently, which was that Sierra Nevada hops project they put out. Like, where basically Sierra Nevada's logo got to appear in the bottle, but effectively all it was Sierra Nevada's hops going into their beers, their brewmasters, getting their hands on it, and being able to integrate it. I mean, that was a really, really simple project when it would be quite easy to just have someone from Sierra Nevada fly over and come in and brew a beer with them. But just providing the hops and going, hey, these are our choice hops. This is how we like to use our hops, and then integrate that into your beer styles.
Absolutely.
Do people prefer a 500ml bottle or a 330?
500.
Yeah, I think for the style of beer that is, I mean, it is a really quaffable beer. I mean, 500 is perfect. Because you can get through that in no time.
Yeah.
I think this is a good
I
dessert
hate
beer.
the Thornbridge bottles. I absolutely hate them because they won't fit in my fridge. I can't get them too tall. I can't get them in there standing up. So as much as I like the 500 mils and particularly like 500 mils of Halcyon, I just and yeah, I'm going to keep banging on about it all night long. And I'm probably going to get one out in a minute. You know it's going to happen. It's inevitable. But yeah. Sorry, what happened there?
Show off. Showing off with your Halcyon.
Oh, what? Uncle yours?
Yes.
Oh, okay. No, then actually, I'm the one that's in the wrong here, aren't I? Because if you've drunk yours already, and I still got it, it's no longer fresh, really.
Exactly. That was the question I was going to ask. Does anybody know how long Thornbridge put on their beers, as far as they can drink by date? Because I saw some Halcyon the other day, which is always very tempting. But I was like, well, if they only put a year on it, I was thinking that's quite fresh. But I've no idea.
I don't know.
No.
You know,
It
I
would
think
be
this
very
is the
useful to
beer.
know.
Like, it's in some respects for this beer, like its freshness. Okay, it can be a thing because Nelson Sauvin is winey, and when you know when something like that, where it's just pure aromatics, that is the first thing to die in any beer that goes into a bottle, and we know that. But I think this is one of those beers where, because there's nothing else to compromise it, it tends to like skate a little better for when it actually is just that little bit older in the bottle as a result, because there's nothing else for it to fall back on. There's nothing else to sort of confuse what you actually need to focus on with this beer.
If I remember right, it's like 12 months for bright beers and 6 months for like bottle condition. So on mine, it's 3rd of the 17th, 15th. So it's probably about 3-4 months old.
No, mine's 3/7/15, so I presume that's 3rd of July. Because Steve gives me my bottle when I was down at GBBF. So.
Yeah.
Well, the thing, you were talking about.
We got these bottles at the beginning of August. That they came through just at the beginning of August, and I think this was the latest batch of them, because prior to that they were showing us sold out on the website. So I think this is probably the freshest batch that they've done of the Kipling.
They've got loads in Waitrose today.
It won't have tomorrow.
Yeah, everyone will be going out tomorrow and stripping the
Obviously,
shelves.
they were getting it in for this evening. Obviously.
Clearly,
Yeah.
clearly, they knew this was going to be going on. Okay, well, I'm almost at the end of my glass of Kipling, as I think maybe a few of us are. Let's get some final thoughts on the Kipling from the assembled masses around the table. Carl, I'm going to you first, because you're the smartest person on my screen right now.
Cheers. I really enjoyed it. Really light, refreshing. Probably drink it mainly during the summer. Probably wouldn't have it during the winter or anything like that. But yeah, it's great. It's fun.
Nice. Anyone else?
Yeah, it's good.
Brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Does it taste like beer?
It tastes like very nice beer indeed.
Excellent.
What colour?
What colour does it taste like?
It tastes like yellow.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Miles, you can go next, because you just popped up on the big screen in front of me.
Lovely beer. There's not too much malt to it. Very hoppy, very light, very easy to drink, and very nice beer.
Excellent. Anybody else? Just feel free to jump in. Don't wait to be asked.
I actually thought it was better the further down the pint you got it. It became more refreshing, more creamy. It's an excellent beer, to be honest.
I like that it maintains that grassiness all the way through.
I think the most disturbing thing about it is its clarity and the way it looks in the glass.
Yeah.
Somebody's been used to drinking sort of cloudy, murky London beers for so long now. When you see something like that, it looks terribly lagerish and quite benign and unattractive.
It's almost healthy, doesn't it? That.
Yeah.
Almost good for you.
I want murky in it.
Have a bit of murky.
You know what's funny is you look at this beer and you could be forgiven to going, hey, you know what, that's what Greg Koch called some fizzy yellow stuff, but you know what, it's a fantastic showcase of a hop which is sometimes, you know, it's misused in how it's actually presented in some beers, and it sometimes I think it just needs to be simplified in how it's used. I mean, there's a brewery in Ireland called 8 Degrees who put this into a saison beer, and they've single hopped it with this, and you know, this hop deserves a little bit more cred than it actually gets, than sort of just being associated with Brewdog's Punk IPA, or as this is, single hop. You know, its simplicity is that it does what it's supposed to do: be grapey, white winey, lychees, pineapple, unripe, Pacific Islands, hula dancers, all that good stuff.
Well, we do have the Saison Queen with us tonight, so it'll be interesting to get Emma's thoughts on this hop being used in a saison. Em, have you ever come across that?
Yeah, I think when I came on the show with you, I mentioned the collaboration between Weirdbeard and Andy Parker at Lucid Brewing, where they did a single hop saison with Nelson. And when
Yes.
I very first had it, I didn't enjoy it because it was overwhelmingly vinous, and it was really, the Nelson was really like punch you in the face Nelson. And the first time I had it, I couldn't even finish it. But I did grow to like it. However, I think that in Kipling, it's a really subtle use of it as a single hop. And it works really well in Kipling as a pale ale. But yeah, I think it can definitely work in saison as well.
Emma, I'll get your details. I'll get you a bottle of the 8 Degrees Nelson Sauvin. I'll change your mind. It's great beer.
That'd be great.
You could always just put them in the box of stuff that you do send to us, mate, and I'll make.
No,
sure
don't
I
do
make
that
it
because
send.
Steve will drink it.
No, I won't. If it's a saison, I won't drink it. I'll definitely pass that one on.
Steve, do we have any
Anybody
questions
else?
for our lovely beer people?
No more questions. We've got one more comment. This is from Guzzler at Simo THFC. Thornbridge beers are very well balanced, not too bitter like some other IPAs. So just joining in on the comments there in terms of I guess the consistency of the Thornbridge beers. So no more questions coming in right now. I think everybody's probably gone to bed. They got bored waiting for us to start.
We're in double digits for listeners, mate.
Excellent. Cool.
Can I say Thornbridge brand's very good. You know, that's a good looking bottle on the shelf.
It is.
It's too tall.
Yeah,
it's too
Do you know
Oh.
Do you know what? There's one thing you can never take away from Thornbridge. Their bottles do look really classy on a shelf. I mean, just look at that. You've got gold leaf type going on. You've kind of got a really beautiful piece of artwork going on. It looks much better than a ton of bottles that are out there. I mean, it is really classy looking. I mean, even the innovation along the bottom there, which is actually sort of part of the glass, is actually really cool. And then on the back, there's actually like passion and knowledge as well. I think, like, again, you talk about the whole package going in there. I mean, it's a beautifully presented bottle of beer, and it doesn't matter whether it's Kipling, Halcyon, Raven, or any of the others. You know, it's beautiful looking.
Yeah, people were saying about the kind of the size of the bottles. Early doors, Thornbridge were making 330s and stuff. I mean, like, I remember the first bottle of Jaipur I ever bought was probably like a hand bottled, hand labelled kind of 330. But with this, I mean, it's a 500, but it's not that kind of like slightly squarish real ale bottle. So I think it's kind of bridging that gap, and I think that's one thing that Thornbridge do. They kind of like to stand somewhere between being aggressively craft, like Brewdog might be, and but also don't want to upset the kind of more traditional kind of real ale in a bottle fans who like a 500. I think it's split people on here. Some people like a good amount of beer because it's a really drinkable beer, but and also Steve is more concerned about it fitting in his fridge. But what you mean? But for craft beer, that is becoming the standard measure, isn't it? The 330. That's what people think of, I think, these days.
Just
in Ireland, it's 500.
Just on that, the Thornbridge are bottling in 330s at the minute. I know sort of Don Driscoll, who's a production manager, is telling me about the frustrations they're having about switching their bottling line over to 330s. And the sole driver between that is the Swedish market. Bear in mind, the Swedes are buying everything that the British breweries are turning out at the minute. The only thing is, you only need 330s. So even Thornbridge are having to change up their production process to service export markets, not the British market. Whether we'll actually see the 330s in the UK, he didn't say. But yeah, it's all for the reason why they're having to switch is for export. So I'll be interested to see if things change here.
Cool. Are people ready to move on to their next beer now?
Yes, we are.
I just ran and got mine. Yeah,
Not quite yet.
I'm on them.
I've got mine here. We were talking about beautifully designed labels earlier, and I think this one beats even Thornbridge. It's there we go. Just nice plain type. Crema Breweries. We've got right here. I've been holding on to this for a little while. Chris and Emma did this, obviously.
What is it?
It's your spiced imperial stout, the superlative black hole.
Oh, okay. Good luck with that.
Yeah, you told me to go big today.
A straw.
It's only 10.4%.
Oh no, you'll be fine.
But if you could come up the road in about half an hour and tuck me in, that'd be great. Thank you.
If everybody could just say goodnight to Mark now. I think this is the last we'll be seeing of him.
No, I've got to do me barley wine in a bit. I'll stall this and I'll get onto the barley wine.
We've just had another question come in. This is from @SteveFord82. Can anyone think of a beer that presents Nelson Sauvin better than Kipling?
Yes, 8 degrees Nelson Sauvin.
Yeah. Apart from that one as well, maybe.
Tonight's Lockin.
Punk IPA.
I would say the McKellar Nelson Sauvin is by far the best Nelson Sauvin beer ever. It beats everything hands down for highlighting what Nelson can do.
And what is it? A single hop IPA? Yeah. Is it double IPA? I think it's just an IPA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Get some.
I think I'm going to go slightly, if you want to bring some kind of craft wanker kind of alert up, I think I might be kind of like tipping that scale, and that would be Alpine's Nelson, which I had in San Diego. You mean it was probably the best beer I had in 2 weeks in California, and that was just incredible. It looks like kind of chicken soup, but the amount of aroma and the amount of hop flavour in that is just ridiculous. It's just incredible.
Rob, can I just say congratulations for being the first person to use the phrase craft wanker on the Lockin.
I feel like
your prize will be in the post to you for that. yeah. Well, somebody had to be the first, didn't they? It's gone 10 o'clock. You know,
it's going to be me.
Start using that language.
Yeah, I can see people pouring beers now, so why don't we go along the line? Stephen.
Yes.
Not you.
Oh, sorry.
The nice Stephen.
No one's called me Stephen apart from my mum.
Barlow.
Oh, Eddie. Here we go. Yeah.
What were you?
Otley Brewery Oxymoron. 5.5%. Another 500ml bottle. They're a Welsh brewery. I've had a couple of these before. Yo one. I think Yo 9, which are blonde and pale ales. This is apparently a black IPA, so I've been really looking forward to this.
Yeah, it's nice stuff.
Who else has got something new?
Absolutely, it's quality. Very nice indeed.
I'm trying to get into it at the minute. I've got loads of wax all over the place.
Carl, what are you drinking, mate?
I'm trying to get into Siren Craft Odyssey 003.
Ooh.
Okay.
Bringing out the big guns early.
Doody, what about you? You are sniffing your glass. Why don't you tell us what you're doing?
It's Buxton Brewery Bar Skyline.
Okay.
It's
What style's that, Doody?
It's a dry hop Berliner Weiss, which should be quite interesting.
Oh, sounds epic.
Palate cleanser.
And Miles, what are you drinking about?
Northeast one, Tynebank Brewery, Silver Dollar. Very nice.
Cool.
There's too much wax.
Chris and Emma, are you drinking anything new now?
Yeah, we're on the Brewdog Jackhammer.
Oh, nice.
Just wanted smacked in the face.
Thank you for supporting my brewery. You're helping my punk shares. Thank you.
There was a collective craft wanker sigh there at that moment, wasn't there? Oh, Jack.
You'll hear us even more later when we bring our history.
Soon to be in cans as well.
I hear.
Matt, what about you? What are you drinking now, bud?
I'm just breaking myself in gently with some that, a punk IPA.
Oh, right.
Not too much of a transition, so
What else?
yeah, that'll do nicely, you know.
And Steve, what do you got, mate?
I've got a little beer from a little-known brewery called Brewdog. I'm doing a Brixton Porter right now. I'm taking the Justin Mason at 1970s boy approach of a porter cleanser at this point in the evening. So yeah, nice cold porter for me.
Cool. This stout is gorgeous.
Good.
I'm really liking this. It's not that strong either. Doesn't taste it anyway.
Tell us about it, Mark.
What's it taste of, Mark?
Taste.
Putting him on the spot. Look at this live.
Taste of the planet.
You fuckers. It's like a spicy chocolate. You know that chili chocolate you can get?
Hmm.
It's like that. Nice and creamy. Quite dark brown. Yeah. Nice dark brown taste.
Chocolate's good.
Yeah.
Very nice. I had the smell of chocolate coming out of it as soon as I was pouring it.
Tastes like it's got chocolate malt in, so that's good.
Ah, there you go. Min. Beer expert me.
Good stuff.
Ian, what are you drinking now, pal?
I have some, as you can see, I'm making my way through it.
You're halfway down.
I think you might have the same answer for a while.
This is actually some beautiful Galway Bay oatmeal IPA. It's about 6.6%. It's really an extra IPA. It's their reinterpolation of what like Sierra Nevada's Torpedo is. It's a beautiful beer. It's actually probably my Irish craft beer of the year. And I'm not just saying that because one of their guys actually was like, hey, take some beer with you this evening. I genuinely love this beer because we don't have any real Irish extra IPAs, and I love their guy who's their head brewer over there because he's a nutcase just like me, and it works great because he likes the same beers I do. And he makes beers I like to drink, and it's awesome.
And Rob, sorry, I'm not sure if we got what your next.
I've
beer
actually
is.
just opened it, and I've been hoovering up whenever I see bottles still remaining around the country of Founders Breakfast Stout, which it don't feel like a weekend until I've got a bottle of Founders Breakfast Stout. I got chatting to a guy from Founders down at GBBF, and he told me it is a seasonal, which filled me with dread because they were like, what else am I going to drink in a weekend? I need to find some other stout, but my local bottle shop still has some. But I mean, the coffee's fading a little bit, but I mean, it's as far as imported beers into the UK, for me, it's one of the best. It's an absolute stormer.
We've got another question coming just before we progress with what we're drinking now. This is from @MazG1. She lives in Lanzarote.
Oh dear.
And would like
Sorry
to know what. Do you know this person? Does somebody know this person?
I know this person.
Okay. Okay. So she lives in Lanzarote and wants to know what hop do you think would convert the lager drinking masses? So let's take that to the next level as well. Not just hop would convert them. What beer would convert the lager drinking masses to the world of craft? Look at the faces across the guests here.
I think it has to be Citra.
I would say so.
Unhuman Cannonball.
Mark, Cannonball is your answer to everything. If someone said, what's the answer to saving the world from itself, your answer would be Cannonball.
That wasn't me. It wasn't even me that said that.
I know, that's what's worse.
No. Little secret, I don't actually like Cannonball that much. Unhuman Cannonball is not bad though.
Seriously, if you carry
Mark,
on
I'm
like
pulling
this,
your
mate,
craft card.
We're really gonna fall out if you carry on talking about Cannonball like that.
Yeah, Mark, we're gonna fall out with you. Look.
Mute.
Back to the question, please, guys. Come on. This young lady that lives in Lanzarote wants an answer.
Bit of context on that. Obviously, she's based in Lanzarote. You imagine very limited style of beers that you get over there. Her fella does brew his own beers as well, and I think he's quite keen on getting like a decent beer for like people who don't like the local lagers over there. So fire away, lads.
I would go for a nice golden beer. I would personally. I'd go for Badger's Golden Glory, which is nice and peachy.
Really?
Do you know what? I'm actually going to be
Someone
really controversial
stop
here.
it.
I'm going to be super controversial. Do you know what hop is actually going to convert someone who drinks lagers? Saz. There,
Oh,
said it and
yeah.
done.
I think like
Worst of all hops.
just someone like a well-made lager.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to sort of
Like Schahalian.
move someone on to drinking ale as opposed to drinking lager, then I don't want to sound like a Brewdog fanboy here, but Dead Pony Club is one that's actually switched. You only drink lager. So, you know, you've got to start them somewhere, you know, and a lot of them say, like, you know, a lot of, like, beers smell like Turkish Delight, or, you know, all sorts of weird stuff.
That's real. That is real.
Where they just seem like Dead Pony Club because they just want to drink pints of it. And
Yeah.
I
Has anyone tried this is lager?
Yes.
And
want to drink pints of it. I love pints of Dead Pony Club.
Getting away from Brewdog, would you consider Schahalian a gateway beer?
Sorry?
I think it was one. It was one for me. It was if I can remember back to when I first started drinking like good proper beer. Schahalian was one of those that kind of started made me sit up and realise that there was more to beer than what is it you call it, Ian? What's that phrase?
Yellow fizzy piss.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. I don't want to steal your catchphrases. But
That's
yeah,
all right.
So certainly made me realise that there was much more to beer than that. So yeah, I mean, Schahalian's a good gateway beer, really.
It's a great beer for.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think there's been a bit of a I think Brewdog have always been searching for that. I completely agree that Dead Pony Club is that's what they're trying to aim at, people who want to drink pints, and they've been constantly trying to get a lager. I think for me, 77 is still the best lager that they've ever made. Fake lager, they tried that, and then now they've kind of slightly tweaked kind of fake lager and added I think some Columbus with this is lager. But so. I think it's a step in the right direction. It's a lager, but you've got some American hops, which you might find in the flavour profiles of something like Dead Pony or Punk, so it's easing them in.
Do you know what's funny is I actually did a tasting of craft beers in work recently, and I brought in some Brewdog beers. I had some Irish beers, and you know what? Just for people who drink usual like macro lagers or fizzy piss, as I like to regularly call it. I brought in Coco Psycho to jump the other end of the scale, but the one beer that people kept coming back to and really, really liking, or the two beers I should say, is one was Dead Pony Club by Brewdog, but the other one was actually Camden Hell's Unfiltered Lager. That actually seemed to convert an awful lot of people who actually like Heineken and that kind of beer. Like Camden Hell's Unfiltered actually seemed to sit with them really, really well.
I think the Camden Hell's Unfiltered has that kind of midway where it doesn't have that sickly lager taste to it.
Completely.
Yeah, I recently kind of experienced a similar situation. I was a day after GBPF, me and Simon from Real Ale Craft Beer were doing a bit of a pub crawl around London, and we were doing a bit of filming upstairs in the I think it's the Old Fountain, lovely pub. And there were two lads there who were working on a building site. They come in, they brought the sandwiches into the pub, eating the sandwiches upstairs and had a pint each. One of them were on Stella like 4%, but then the other one was on Camden Hells, which is, I mean, these were really just average fellas working on a building site nearby. So, I mean, that penetration is being made. I mean, that conversion is happening. And I think that, I mean, it's a nice lager. That's the first step, because you realise it doesn't have to be like Carlin and Carlsberg. It can actually be really nice, but still be a lager.
You're going to get places where people will just go in and order a style of beer. I want a pint of lager. You know, they'll say, "I'll have a pint of lager, please." And if those places serve sort of whatever beer there is, Camden or whatever, Schahadian or whatever, people will just take it and drink it. Are they necessarily converted though?
No, the guy who was in there, I mean, who I was speaking to, he was like, "That's my beer."
Right.
I mean, that's I always drink Camden Hells.
Camden Hells is kind of like pervasive in London. You find it in a lot of places. An interesting one, that's a bit of a left field one, is obviously Wetherspoons are carrying the 6 Point beers. Last night I was in the Hamilton Hall, Liverpool Street, and I hadn't tried the Crisp, which is apparently meant to be a German Pilsner. I was like, that's the best of that range. It's so easy drinking, bags of flavour. These are the sort of beers that people, they'll maybe look in the fridge at sort of Wetherspoons pubs and say, what's that thing there? And they'll have it, and they'll be, wow, this is something a bit different, So it's even things like that that'll switch people maybe slowly over time to drinking different beers. But it does take a big step for people who only drink lager, they're not used to that much flavour just there for the booze, to actually switching them on to drinking interesting beer. Yeah. A lot of people are really adverse to it.
Yeah, that 6 Point Crisp is really good for that.
There's only a limited amount of places where you can actually get craft beer still as well, so it's going to be quite hard for the people who drink lager to kind of get onto it.
I think it's getting
Try
more
being
and
in
more,
Ireland and talking to crap
especially in
lager.
London. It's everywhere. Even in the quite a crappy place in London, I bet you'll find Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. You'll probably find. I remember seeing bottles of Camden Hells in, I think it was San Francisco Airport, which was quite odd to see. But I mean, some stuff gets around like crazy, and especially in London. Camden Hells is all over the place. But you mean punk? I think punk's everywhere as well now. You'll go into a lot of just trendy bars, which are maybe focused more towards cocktails. You'll still find quite a lot of punk around, I'd imagine.
A huge amount of it here.
Even Wetherspoons, you get punk now, can't you?
Exactly.
Yep.
Well, I was in a Green King pub about 2 weeks ago, and they were selling punk, and I was like, brilliant! It's the better alternative to the stuff that you're selling on your main taps. To be honest with you, it's an interesting one because obviously we did the show this week where we put out the interviews we did with the Brewdog guys, and they were saying they're quite happy to sell punk to Green King because it's getting their product to the masses.
Yeah. Well, remember we were on that pub tour with Vic Norman a little while ago, and we were in one of those. It's a historical pub, but they had a shit selection, but they had punk on tap.
Yeah. I was so pleased to see it, I almost jumped up on the bar and started cuddling it.
Go on, Steve, tell us how you 30-second-old punk. There's nothing like
I'm not going to mention the 30-second-old punk. I'm not going to do it. I'll let Rob do that. Rob, you should mention the 30-second-old punk.
You mean the bottles that James personally handed to us? Yeah.
What, straight off the bottling line?
Yeah.
Seconds old. Yeah.
I was impressed.
Every time
his bottle opening
posts
technique.
that, he says that.
He's got an impressive bottle opening technique, as James.
Martin with his iPhone.
Right.
But that's one thing you can say. I mean, I'd say that punk was actually a bit too fresh. Some beers, and this is one thing that we.
I think you've reached the craft wanker there.
You just said a beer is
Put it back.
too fresh.
I don't want it for another couple of
Some beers. Magic Rock Ringmaster at the Grove, which is like a mile and a half from the brewery, is too fresh. I mean, one thing that Chris was saying earlier about Kipling having that kind of style of petrol thing going on. A very exalted British brewer was saying you get that when Nelson's too fresh. You do get kind of like that burnt rubber, slightly kind of smoked bacon thing when Nelson's too fresh. And I think some beers do kind of perform a little bit better when they got a bit of time to calm down.
Yeah, with what Rob was saying, that sort of petrochemical thing. So for those who don't know, I actually work 1 day a week at Weird Beer. So when Andy Parker came over to brew the next collaboration this year, the Lord Nelson, I remember taking it straight out of the fermenter just to do a sort of quality check on it, and I mean it was like burnt rubber, and that was with the dry hop in it. It was just like this beer would be it's nearly ready for packaging, and you're thinking there's no way I could drink that. But you look at that. For those who've had that beer now, what do you think? Doesn't taste or smell anything like that. It's all about getting the sweet spot when the beer sort of starts to condition properly, and that's a big part of it. And it's really up to the brewers to know when to release beer.
So with all the talk about hops and everything, what's...
these days?
Sorry, what was that?
What I was going to say was myself
How come
and
everyone's
Rob,
working up weird beer
a couple of weeks ago, it was myself, Steve, Rob, and a couple of others in Cask in Aberdeen. And we were sitting there drinking like a ton of beers. And I think, Rob, I can't remember what you had, but I was sitting there drinking like a single hop Hermitage Mandarina Bavaria.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I remember that.
Yeah. Glad you remembered. I have very, very little memory. But we were talking about like single hop beers at that stage. I think one of the things that I think you might have said was that sometimes you think that single hop beers might be a little bit like one trick pony, but it really depends on the hop and like whether the brewers actually got their together.
Yeah, well, I think that's very astute of me for that time of night.
I was well impressed, actually.
I mean, well, it might have been me. I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest. But it's been a long day, a very fun day. But yeah, I mean, I think some beers suit a single hop. I think some can kind of do it. I mean, I think Citra really does it. I mean, I think Simcoe really can nail it. I mean, depending on how it's used, I think it can be really interesting, but really quite objective with like excessive use of Simcoe. Nelson Sauvin, as we've seen today, I think really does. And for me, I'm a big fan of Centennial. I mean, I think it's a real kind of like it can do so much. It's just a very versatile hop, and it can work with a lot of stuff, but it can really kind of perform on its own.
Mm.
But then there's somewhat just, I think, Sriracha Ace, sometimes it's a bit... But I did have the weird beard...
lemony for me.
I did have the weird beard, Little Things That Kill, and last night at Leeds International Beer Festival, and that was all Sriracha Ace, and that was absolutely stonking, so...
That's a really good beer, actually.
That's its real name.
Sriracha Face Punch.
Yep.
It was lovely. It was really nice. I mean,
It's great. It's a great beer.
I still haven't had that yet. I'm really jealous.
Get some.
You'll probably find there's not much out there now because we brewed batch 9 a few weeks ago. It's packaging soon, so yeah.
But ask around. Try and get some.
I will do. Will do.
So with all this talk of hops and everything, what are people's favourite hop, single hop?
Can we have a top 3?
No top 3s.
Chinook.
Any vote for Fuggles?
I need a beer cafe and something Wells.
Galaxy's alright.
Galaxy's great.
Might
smells
go.
like a bag of weed when you get a bag of Galaxy.
Yeah.
Simcoe's pretty awesome too.
Yep, go for Simcoe.
Becoming a bit of a fan of Mosaic.
Duty, you've been really quiet. What's your favourite hop, mate?
Too trendy.
Can I have 2?
No, 1.
One, let's go for Citra.
Oh, you boring bugger.
It's a bit of a safe option, but what the hell, it tastes really nice, so...
Steve?
And it smells really nice as well.
Yeah, I'll go with Citra too, to be honest. Safe choice, but it's good.
And Specky Steve, what's your favourite hop, mate?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, I'd probably go Citra, but I'm also going to give a shout out to Mosaic actually, because I think I've tried a lot of beers certainly in the past year or so that have been single hopped with Mosaic, and when it's done well, it's done really well, and it can just deliver this really creamy finish to it that's just fantastic. And I think it's kind of a newer hop that's being used a lot, but I think it's got great potential.
Okay.
Are you going to bring up the Ghost, the Adnams one, are you?
No.
I was worried there for a second when you said Mosaic. I was like, please don't say the Adnams one.
We've got a couple of votes from Twitter. We've got Clayfish saying Citra and Luon Brew saying Mosaic.
You see, the thing I like about Mosaic, I mean, it's of the same kind of heritage as Simcoe, but for me, it's got all the bits I like about Simcoe, and not the stuff that really can kind of like turn me off.
Simcoe is Marmite, dude.
It is in the States, yes.
I think the great thing about Simcoe, that's why certainly I've said it, is it plays really well with others. I don't think I'd ever make a single hop Simcoe beer, but
Could do. McKellar did it. It's great.
I prefer Simcoe with all the other hops. It brings out a lot of the other flavors, and that's why it plays well. Chinook's kind of similar, but Simcoe just seems to be the one that it plays well with others. It's such a good way.
Would you say Simcoe's more like Cascade as well?
There's nothing quite like Simcoe.
Yeah, I completely agree. Nothing quite like it. I mean, for me, it can ruin things as well. It can really be like, you know, why they put some Simcoe in that just to be trendy? I mean, put some Amarillo in it, put something else in it. I mean, I think it can really dominate if you're not careful.
Okay.
Well, Simcoe is pretty much your go-to if you're looking for a big, huge, lemony, piney bastard of a beer. You can't go far wrong by sticking Simcoe in it. Really.
Does anyone know anything about the sort of the new English hops that are being developed?
Jester. Jester's a newish one.
Yeah. Any good?
I'm gonna.
I don't know.
we tried it. We tried it in the beer a while back, and it's got an interesting profile to it. But I'm not sure in the instance of the beer that we tried, it was the right use of it.
The Jolly Jester that was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was. Moving on.
So we've got another question. It's the same two people that are just asking questions here. So this is Guzzler again. So Simo THFC, and this is just I guess asking everybody. Does anybody still buy mainstream beers from the supermarket?
I've still got a bottle of Bishop Finger in the fridge.
I'll have a bottle of Golden Glory once in a while.
Absolutely not.
Golden Glory, oh yeah!
It's peachy, Mark. It's peachy.
It's peachy. Okay.
Does anyone consider Worky Ticket mainstream?
I've never heard of that.
Nah.
Can you get it in the supermarket up there?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, up north you can. Not down
Punk
there.
IPA is
Jack
like
Hammer.
mainstream now.
You can get Jackhammer in the in Tesco's in Scotland.
That's not quite mainstream though.
You can get.
But it's still available in the supermarket. So if I walked into the supermarket and saw a Jackhammer, I would rinse the shelves.
Absolutely.
Who's Trooper can?
You can get Ola Do up in supermarkets up in Scotland.
Really?
Yeah.
I need to move.
My local beers end up being like Ossett Yorkshire Blonde, Ilkley Gold, and Black Sheep, and all that kind of business.
Don't they have beer in the milk aisle up in Scotland?
we went to like a supermarket or a small market in Shipley, and they had like Magic Rock and.
No way.
You didn't just say those words.
It was just like
just say those words.
That was a crazy off license in Shipley.
That was a great recommendation by Dave Bishop, by the way.
Where is Dave? Where is Dave Bishop?
He's on Twitter. He's just been harassing me. But that's the exact same shop where I bought my Founders today.
That's
Saltaire Wines. That's where I got that.
That shop sells magic rock and bacon, doesn't it? That's it.
Oh, it's cool. Maybe I should know.
Saltaire wines.
Okay,
Order
so
today.
That rings a bell.
Bell, Rob.
Emma, I'm not sure if you're allowed to tweet that you want us to ask more questions at the same time as being live on here, but where's your list of
I'm
questions?
being
that you sent?
interactive.
Why don't you ask some of the questions that you sent us? Because you've got some great
Well, actually, can I
questions
ask
in there.
you? Can I actually ask a question of actually everyone who's on the panel at the moment? We're just into September right now, okay? So, what was your actual beer of the summer?
Good question.
Everyone's gone quiet.
A lot of scratching heads right now.
Am I not allowed to say Halcyon or Cannonball?
Dude, I could ask you that any time of the year and you'll say either of the two of those.
Okay, in that case, then I'm going for 5 Points IPA because I think it's stunning, and I think it's one of the beers that I'm going to start mentioning as frequently as I do Cannonball and Halcyon.
I had
No chance.
McKellar Bacon.
Oh, good choice.
McKellar Bacon, which was really, really nice.
Okay.
That's a good choice, actually.
I think there'll be a lot of bacon
Emma?
tomorrow.
I don't know. I'm thinking. Come back to me.
I think that what I'm certainly thinking of is Emma's thinking, but I mean, one of the beers that's blown away about over the summer had a GBBF. It was one of the Tocomato beers that they had on at the Italian bar.
Ooh,
It kind of blew me away.
my beer. Now we're talking.
Was it the Citra one?
I can't remember. I'm just looking it up on tap now, but it was one of the bottled ones. I think it was the collaboration they did with Cantillon, and I mean, it just
My 1000th check-in on Untapped.
it just really kind of set
Out of the bottle.
for me. I know I've been going on about it on Twitter, but I think like Italy is going to be the next big place where really exciting beers are coming from, because they don't really have all the restraints that we have, but they have the same kind of adventure that the American brewers have. So
They got nice bottles as well.
That's true.
I think it's called Duchessic. It's a blend of their Duchessa, which is like a spelt kind of beer, and blended with Cantillon, like fresh lambic. I didn't get to try it.
you could be right, Rob. I'm just looking it up now, see if we can find it. But it really blew me away. It's a fantastic beer.
Just like this. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I've just found a photo of me drinking it out of a bottle.
I got a badge! Folks, I got a badge.
Badge wanker.
Is it the Lockin badge?
No, it's Sky's the Limit from drinking Chris and Emma's beer. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you know what though? Next time we do a Lockin,
Oh, I got 2 badges!
I'm getting in touch with my badge. There's going to be a Lockin badge.
Steve, I got 3 badges.
3 badges. Have you got a hat trick of badges?
I have. I got
Brilliant.
Homebrew Goodness, and I got Heavyweight Level 5. Oh, yeah. Away we go.
Okay, anyone tuning in at this point, I apologise for Mark's behaviour.
Oh, another one would be the Siren Craft Caribbean chocolate cake one as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
good
I'm with
beer.
you on that one.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
I will mention the Roosters Babyface Assassin. I was playing that and I was like, wow, that is a very good beer.
That started off as a home brew in Tom's bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anyone
All
moving on?
citra.
Sorry, mate. Is anyone moving on to their next beer now after?
I'm just wondering.
There's no
Have you
medals.
seen my bottle?
Come on, dude.
No, those that have got
Come
double
on, look.
axe.
I've got
When,
this
when
to
are we
go.
when are we doing double axe, people?
I did Unhuman Cannonball in 20 minutes. Come on, you can do better than that.
Lightweight.
Alright, I've got my next one. I've got.
Have you finished, Mark?
Yeah, I finished yours.
Wow.
Jesus Christ. Oh, hang on, wait, no, it was only a 330 bottle, is that right?
No, it's one of the big ones.
That's, okay.
It was bloody gorgeous. It was such a lovely beer.
I'm glad.
So,
Careful now. Don't operate any heavy machinery or drive.
I'm going to steal the spotlight for a little bit and say that my next beer is Married Seuss. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Married Seuss? um, which is a blonde beer, 6%, 330ml, by the traditional Benedictine Belgian thing. So this, I'm expecting yeast. What's everyone else drinking?
Just while you expect your yeast, we've had a couple of people comment on their beers of the summer. So at Greg1954 said his beer of the summer is Concrete Cow Beer Dirty Cow, and Steve Ford at Steve Ford 82 beer of the summer Beavertown Black Betty. So
that's
just
great
some
beer.
people that are still with us out there right now.
I'd like to interject. My beer of the summer would be 3-day-old Stone Enjoy by at Stone Liberty Station. I'm not showing off or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, you bastard.
Yeah, but it's not 30-second-old punk handed to you by the owner. Let's be honest.
I've had that as well.
Yeah, I know you've had that as well. I think I was stood next to you at the time.
Actually, guys, can I do something that's really cool? Can I actually give a world premiere to a beer that is actually not even just about to hit the market yet, which is by this company, which is the Manor Brewing Company in Wicklow in Ireland. This is the first time this beer has actually seen the light of day. So it's basically, this is a bitter blonde beer, and there's a lovely dichotomy here. The guy who's the owner is actually a Kiwi, and the guy who's the brewer is a full-on Belgian freak. Like, he loves his Belgian beers. So this is actually the first time this beer has actually ever seen the light of day. As you can see, look, it's a lovely colour.
It is, yeah.
And the head on it is actually quite spectacular. And it's like really, really lemony, which is actually quite cool, considering it's what it actually is supposed to be.
Okay, we've got other people cracking open beers. Take turns showing us what they are. Steve, what's your next one?
Is that me?
Yeah.
This is one that I kind of wasn't anticipating doing tonight, but then we had technical difficulties which wiped out the first one. So I'm going old school here. Adnams Jack Brand Innovation IPA, which I don't think is as good in this format as it was in its previous format.
No, when they changed the logo, it went shit.
We'll give it a go again tonight. So I'm Innovation IPA for me.
All right, Barlow. What do you got lined up?
Right, I've got a bottle of Sunburst by Invermont Brewery. It's a Bohemian Pilsner apparently, so first ever time I'm trying this.
Oh, cool.
I was going to try and crack on one of my very first attempts at home brewing, but I mean, too much of exalted company here, so I'll leave it.
Rob, what are you drinking, mate?
I'm going to be working on my Founders Breakfast Stout for some while. I mean, it's about 9 point something. So, I mean, I'm here for a long time, not for a good time.
Miles, what are you up to now?
I'm on north of the border, Tempest, Brave New World IPA, very good stuff.
Judy, are you still on the rice beers?
I've just finished that, so I cracked open a summer wine teleporter. Got it in a box of 11 summer wine beers plus a t-shirt for £23 postage.
Where
What's
from?
the t-shirt?
From the website.
I think summer wine have really improved over the last year. They've really made some steps. I mean, their coffee Imperial Porter with Padorino, that was really nice. And when it's on form, Diablo's incredible. I bet Miles probably sees more summer wine beer than I do. Yeah, I'm in West Yorkshire, but they sell a load of it around Newcastle.
Well, Steve, when Steve was up, we were in a bar and they served us a bottle of the double IPA. Is it Maelstrom?
Maelstrom.
It was past its sell-by date. What would you expect a bar's reaction to be to that?
I'd hope that I'm very sorry. What else would you like?
Yeah, but enjoy the accent, obviously.
Oh, you're fucking silly, Miller.
I'd be asking for Nuki
in
Brown.
there continues. Oh, you're fucking silly.
Li-
And
li-
there'd be a lot of canny use of the word canny because canny can mean like about 6 different things.
Literally, we got they apologised, offered to replace it. But you would expect them to take everything off the shelf and to go through their fridges and make sure that the dates are up to date.
Yeah.
But literally, all we got was an apology. That was it.
Oh well, that's better than nothing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Better than a slap, innit?
But
Hey.
someone else could walk in and
Especially
order
since it
another
was
bottle.
me doing the moaning.
Moving on.
Yeah, some southern.
Moving on. Let's move on. Matt, what are you drinking now, mate?
Well, true to form, I've drunk about 4 since the last one. So, with Doody with the summer wine box set, this is my last one, which is the Mocha Milk Stout.
Nice stuff.
Oh, nice.
It's not bad, but at the moment I'm on the Lucky Day Central Coast IPA.
Ah,
Oh, wow.
I want to try that.
From
Really nice selection of beers tonight.
which isn't bad. I mean, to say it's come from America, you know, these imports tend to be a bit under the weather, but this one seems to have survived the trip. It's fairly pleasant. But going back to the cans of the summer, what about Beavertown, Gamma Ray?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, Jesus,
Mention
yes.
I mean, that came on the
Jillion
scene
times
and
over,
just
yes.
blew everything away, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was the beer of the summer, I think.
Can I actually just say that I actually preferred the Black Betty in a can?
Yes, that is good.
No, you can't. You can say you like it equally, but you can't.
No, my beer of the summer, I missed the beer of the summer question, but my beer of the summer is Smog Rocket.
Good.
Really?
Yeah.
The mere mention of cans has brought back
It's too
my
old.
summer, which is a Bengali Tiger.
That's a good beer, actually, in the can. But it's not better than Gamma Ray, sorry. It really isn't.
I don't rate Gamma Ray, to be honest with you.
It's very
Get
bitter.
out.
Very, very bitter. I can see why Matt don't like it. I had a can this afternoon, and that's probably going to be my next one is Gamma Ray, and I absolutely love it. But it is seriously bitter, and we were talking about Kipling earlier, and I think it was Emma saying it seems a bit tame, because when you have cans of Gamma Ray, it's like it's big bitterness. It's a really assertive bit of beer. I love it. I love it.
Have you had the 1000 IBUs by McKellar?
Yeah, it's savage.
Go for the Ultramate one. That's the more extreme
Really?
version of it. Yeah. That is mental. That is, yeah.
I've got to try that next one.
Search that out. Yeah, that's too much. But I mean, I'm all about hop. I like hop flavour. I'm not. I can live without crushing bitterness.
Chris and Emma, what are you drinking now, guys?
We just tweeted the picture of it. It's probably the contender for the most beautiful bottle label tonight. It's by a brewery from Canada, Brasserie du Sel. It's the Rosé de Hibiscus, which is a spiced strong beer with hibiscus. We got turned on to this brewery late last year when they had a load of the bottles in some of the Brewdog shops, and they've do some really fantastic beers. One of my beers of last year was the Seeking Ratio sort of spiced imperial stout saison hybrid thing, which inspired the Superlo Black Hole that Mark drank earlier.
Yeah, that's a kind of a tribute to a Seeking Ratio, that beer that you were drinking earlier, Mark. It's kind of our tribute to it. So they're a fantastic brewery based in Montreal. You see them very occasionally. You can buy their beers in bottles from Brewdog, and they sent a lot of kegs over here at Christmas. And I heard a little whisper that there might be some kegs coming back to the UK along with the brewer very soon. So look out for that.
That's a gorgeous label as well.
mean, their aphrodisiac, which is like a vanilla, I think it's a vanilla porter, and then and Pêche Mortelle. I mean, Pêche Mortelle was so kind of like the big kind of like holy grail for a couple of years. I mean, it's incredible. You know, such a small brewery. We get it over in the UK.
Yeah, they're a fantastic brewery. I think they're one to watch for it whenever they're over here.
When you see them, get them.
Carl, what are you drinking now, mate? You're still on that bloody bottle, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
Come on, okay, moving on. Ian. Ian, have you finished that vat of Irish IPA yet?
Well, actually, hang on. Let me show you where I am with this. Okay.
That hasn't
So
moved.
God.
I'm actually on this at the moment. No, but that's because I'm on this.
Yeah, okay, you showed us that before. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is world premiere stuff, dude. You're actually getting to see it before everyone else in the world.
Oh, dear me.
Well, actually, I could have shown you this, but, you know. There you go. 200 Fathoms, which is a yellow spot oak cask Imperial IPA. But
That's next.
Okay, I've got a question for you guys, and you can't include in this answer Magic Rock or Brewdog. The question is, do you have a current list? Do you have a list of your top 3 favourite UK breweries at the moment?
Yes.
Top 2.
Yes.
If I can't have Magic Rock, can it be a top 2?
Oh, go on then.
Can I have a top 3 then? I would have Beavertown, Buxton, and Siren if I can't have Magic Rock.
Exactly.
Hogstar, Buxton, and Beavertown.
How?
Siren, Beavertown.
Similar list, this is, you know. All along the board.
Matt, what about you?
Beavertown, Buxton, and I can't do a third one.
Say Siren.
Doody.
Buxton, Weirdbeard, and Beavertown.
Miles?
I'm going to go with locally Anarchy, nationally Wild Beer Co, and the third one, well, Mordew. I've always drank Mordew beer, so Mordew's always been my favourite brewery. So.
Okay, Rob?
I'm frantically going back through Untapped to see what I've enjoyed from the UK recently, which isn't a number of the ones that have already been mentioned. Absolutely Siren are fantastic. I mean, as far as creative brewing in the UK, I don't think many people touch Siren. I mean, there's like Magic Rock, for example, do what they do to an absolute perfection, but I think Siren is just so creative, which I really enjoy about them. Beavertown, I'd say, mainly because I drink a lot of their cans. Gamma Ray, definitely one of my most kind of like visited kind of beers. Anything else? I think we should be all ashamed of ourselves, hang our heads for not mentioning Colonel. Don't take him for granted.
Yeah.
I mean, I drank some incredible Colonel last night at Leeds International Beer Festival. Export Stout is just it takes some beating, and the raspberry sour, wow, it's incredible. But yeah, don't forget Colonel.
Barlow.
I can claim ignorance because I am not on your team.
Hold on. Hold on. We're getting a response from... We've got Mr. Barlow now. Mr. Barlow.
Yeah, I've got a great Colonel. Is probably my number one. Time Bank's another one of mine.
Good.
And I'm a big fan of Otley. Really big fan of Otley.
Steve.
Just to go along with the crowd, Beavertown, Buxton are up there, and I think it would be remiss of me not to mention Thornbridge as well, who consistently good beers.
Thanks, Thornbridge. Love you. Thanks for the Kipling.
Yeah,
thanks for the Kipling.
Yep.
More Halcyon.
Halcyon.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure Steve is actually sponsored personally by Thornbridge Halcyon.
You haven't seen my back. I've got a massive tattoo just across my back of the label of Halcyon.
Yeah.
I'm going to hold you to that when you come over next year, mate. I'm going to hold you to it.
I have drunk quite a lot of Bayern this summer. It's a fantastic lager.
For me, it would be, my favourites would be Beavertown, Harvestone, and I have to say Badgers, because Golden Glory is peachy. You can't do any better.
Actually, can I revise mine to throw in Williams Brothers?
I'm just going to disagree with Emma slightly on my top three. I'm going to put.
Is the couch made up?
Yeah, Siren is my kind of top two, and they're kind of almost like a joint number one. Buxton are just turning out some absolutely banging beers at the minute, but they're kind of going with what Rob said earlier. Siren are absolutely really raising their game. Some of the stuff that Ryan's turning out at the minute is absolutely cracking. The discount series, as I like to call it, have been an absolute revelation. And then a third, I guess, is it's Beavertown, I guess, because they've gone to the cans and the beers, the consistency of the beers is really there. I think they've just edged out Kern just. But there you go. I just felt it was slightly different from what Emma wanted to do across.
Okay, sorry.
I've got another question actually.
Go on.
On top of that, you know the Rainbow series of brewery collaborations that are going.
Sure.
Which one are you looking forward to the most?
I can't remember them.
There's somebody typing it. What are they?
Oh yeah, it's because this guy.
I'm slightly cynical about that whole thing. I mean, I had a few of them last year, and I mean, I think they did decent stuff, and I liked Sirens from last year. Magic Rocks wasn't that cracking. Oxheads was decent, but
Roadies was just downright scary.
Can I just ask? You say Magic Rock. What is your thoughts on the Great Alphonsus?
I had it on Thursday night, and it was lovely.
There you go. Problem solved.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it's a wider question. Would be it's about this whole collaborations, which aren't completely collaborations. I mean,
are you going to say Magic Stone Dog?
I wouldn't dare to say anything about that.
It's all right. Now we're okay then.
I was put right by one of the brewers. I'm not saying it was any of those three brewers, but it was somebody who actually brewed the beer. But
was it a Bowman?
No. It was one of the guys who actually brewed the beer. But I mean, with this situation, I mean, you can take this further to like what Mikkeller does, just as what he does. When's a collaboration a collaboration? You have to be physically in the building, involved in the process, or
Actually, that's a really good question.
You just have to be there to put together those ideas. Because Mikkeller kind of sees himself as like a head chef. That my main man says. He sends an email. You make my beer. So I mean, are they true collaborations? If the pairings of the breweries.
Is it not like a microwave meal?
No, actually, that's a really good question. You know, when is a collaboration of beer actually a collaboration beer? That's a really, really good question.
I think when they both dig out the mash tun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Depends your size, your mash tun. Might be a bit crowded there for two people. Especially if you're just in your pants. Yeah, that's how we do.
I've had the pleasure of watching Doody dig out a mash tun, which was a fantastic experience.
What's he in his pants?
No, he wasn't in his pants, but he was a sweaty little beast by the time he got out.
He's not doing it right. No.
Now that we've all discussed what our favourite breweries are, I've got another question for you. If your favourite brewery released a limited edition beer, what's the most that you'd be willing to pay for it?
€90, and I've already done it.
Anyone else? Would any of you pay €90 for a beer from your favourite brewery?
It depends how
Which is
big
about £70
Oh, right.
sterling.
I was going to say, how much is that in real money?
£70 sterling.
No, I think the maximum I'd go to would be like 20 quid, and then I'd be thinking you're into silly money here.
Oh, Steve, what if Magic Rock brought out like a limited, really, really small batch beer and it was like £25 for a 330ml bottle? Would you buy it?
Well,
It would have to be Cannonball.
I'd go to 25.
If it was like a quadruple cannonball.
Like a 2D, 3D cannonball.
Unhuman teabag by Stuart Ross.
That's not fair. That's not fair. You can't.
It's a
do
difficult
that
question.
to me
You
at
can
this
get a
stage.
hair around the rim.
There's a t-shirt in for you, mate.
Unhuman Cannibals kind of set the benchmark, hasn't it?
Well, what was it? It was like a tenner a bottle online. £10-11 online, and I think that was pretty reasonable. I think if they start getting to a stage where they're like, you know what, we know this is limited, so we can charge a ridiculous amount of money for it. I won't be taking the piss out of.
What were you paying a pint though? What were they charging a pint for that?
It was almost a fiver for a third.
It was a fiver.
And
right.
Yeah, and it was 20 quid for a bottle in the bar as well, which so they had already doubled the price of it just to buy it from the bar.
Yeah.
You've got a free bag though.
I've got one too, but expensive, wasn't it? Expensive bag. When you think about it.
I think I struggle to go over 25. I mean, I think the most I've spent is 25. That wasn't for.
Jesus, so you've never bought a bottle of Bismarck then?
No, I've shared. Actually, when I drank Bismarck, it was with Richard Burhouse on the way back from Manchester, on the train out of his hip flask.
You're sure enough now.
It was what he had left from football match day before.
You've just gone into complete new wanker territory there, man.
That's before he opened the brewery. So it's not quite the same.
But you've kind of got to the point where you decide what you're going to pay based on what the beer is. You know, it would have to be something to grab you to pay that bit more for it. Now, I would think.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like going back to Pliny, the Russian Rivers Pliny. I mean, how much would you pay for a bottle of that? Because that is the ultimate craft wanker beer, isn't it?
Younger, not elder. Younger.
Well, yeah, you can go down that road, but elder people still rave about that, don't they?
Yeah, but once you've had it once, how much are you going to pay to have it again?
Yeah,
You wouldn't, would you?
I would only.
You could buy a bottle of Halcyon.
Well, that is a good point because we swapped. We did a swap with somebody.
A fresh bottle of
We
Pliny
swapped Halcyon for Pliny, and they were quite happy to do it.
Yeah.
I think that nowadays I would only want to drink Pliny, whether it be younger or elder, in the States. I wouldn't want to have to pay for a bottle here.
Craft wanker alert.
But I'd only drink it in the States.
I mean, do you remember was it this year or late last year, the Craft Beer Co. had a Pliny tasting night.
Yep.
Which was 40 quid, basically.
People were happy about it, weren't they?
You got a third of a bottle to share, plus obviously some other beers, but it was still 40 quid.
I think people voted with their feet on that one, a lot of people, but you'll always find some people that will pay for it.
Yeah, me.
Okay, so guys, related question to all this. We have a question that's coming via Twitter from the Pieman7, Simon Manchester. He's asking, are some of the bigger craft brewers endangering smalling ones by pricing their beer so high? therefore making it a closed shop.
Ooh, interesting.
Good beer costs more. Costs more to produce. That's the starting point, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I don't mind paying more for a decent beer, really.
It's not really that much more, though, is it, when you think about it? Especially in central London.
But do you think in like a supermarket, a bottle of, or in a beer shop that usually sells the craft beers, a beer that might be priced at like £3.50,
Yeah.
and another beer that might be towards the £5 end? Do you think it's quite
I would say Newcastle very much separate from London prices, right? You're paying sort of £2.50 to £3 a bottle for decent beer, and that doesn't seem a lot to me. But actually, you know, compared to the price per bottle you would pay for a beer before I got into these beers, it's quite a lot, but it's well worth paying, I think. I don't know whether I'm a step away from the mold that I'm willing to pay that, but
I think there's the one thing you need to consider here is simple economics. It is more expensive, per unit to make the beer that we're talking about here. Sort of the macrobreweries have the economies of scale to chuck out stuff that costs next to nothing. But if you want beer that's got a lot of ingredients in it, and hops are expensive, we're kind of lucky in the UK that our malt is relatively cheap, but hops are really expensive, particularly American hops. So you're paying for ingredients.
Should look at Chris Hall's interview with James Watt recently about why their beers are so expensive.
yeah.
Follow his CS Hall writer on Twitter. You should be following him already. He has a great beer blog called The Beer Diary. And he did a one-on-one interview with James Watt recently. And it's got some quite interesting questions in there about finances and why Brewdog beers cost what they cost.
Yeah, I see it all the time in working in the brewery. The amount of hops that we put into our really hoppy beers, and think, well, I know what price it is to buy like 100 grams, of a pack to put in a homebrew thing. But like if you're putting like 11 kilos of hops into a batch that's only 1,600 liters, that's a lot, and it's very expensive. So it's the simple economics of the whole sort of industry. You'll find over time the beaver times their price will come down. Brewdog will be the same. As breweries get bigger and they benefit from economies of scale and they get better discounts from buying more stuff. That's the way it'll work.
Yeah.
Can I throw this into the mix, right? If you look at New Zealand hops alone, right? Let's just take New Zealand hops, which are sort of de rigueur in terms of aromatics going into beer at the moment. The New Zealand hop conglomerate could actually afford to grow more hops right now. They have enough hectares to actually be able to grow more hops, but they're actually refusing to do so, which is actually keeping the hop prices artificially high for an awful lot of things like Pacific Jade or for things like Nelson Sauvin, which is actually driving those prices up. I mean, Brewdog recently told myself and Steve and a number of others, and again Hopzine as well, when we were up there, they actually have to pre-buy their hops to 2017 to tell how far ahead they're actually going to need hops. That's insane, because some people are actually trying to micromanage a hop market when they actually have the ability to grow it and expand it, but they refuse to, just so they can keep that price artificially high.
But are Brewdog selling them on to other hop distributors as well, or are they keeping them for themselves?
Well, it's very difficult to even try buy Nelson Sauvin 2014.
Yeah.
I bought some of that recently, and it was extremely difficult to put my hands on it.
So we've had someone comment on this as well, that at Luon Brew is saying people pay $3.50 for a coffee, so beer doesn't seem quite so bad. Thoughts on
That's
that?
exactly it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think there's still quite a lot of wild inconsistencies, though. I mean, Brewdog bars, you do notice there is a massive premium on some of the beers they do. Not just their own, but some of the imports as well. You know, when you look at other pubs in London, you know, you're knocking Lagunitas out for what, £4.80 a pint. That's come all the way from Chicago.
You read that.
Chris Hall actually asked that question, didn't he?
Yeah, read that interview with James Watt, and he'll tell you that Lagunitas are way, way bigger than Brewdog, and that's why it's cheaper.
What about Beavertown? They can't be bigger than. They can't be bigger than Brewdog, Beavertown, but.
Beavertown is a really horrible one to do the comparison of. You need to remember who owns Beavertown, what family he comes from. It's an unfair comparison.
Beavertown are best judged in 2 years' time, I would say.
Oh, no doubt about that. But the money that's structured in behind Beavertown versus Brewdog is two very different things. Brewdog is funded by HSBC, the Scottish Business Bureau, and also their equity punks. Beavertown, whether you like it or not, the dude's money is coming in behind Led Zeppelin money.
Correct you there. They're actually asset financed. So they're heavily leveraged.
They're quite open about that, and they tell people about it if they're interested.
If you want to ask Logan about it, ask him exactly how they finance the company. Yes,
they're also financed through their brew pub tubes.
Yeah.
Look at it that way. I think that's being a bit unfair to Beavertown. You know, bearing in mind they're only a 30-barrel kit.
You can't.
They are big for London, but they're not big for the brewing industry.
No, exactly. I totally take that on board.
You can't criticise them because they're so passionate about the beers. The beers are good. At their very core, they are trying to push good beer. You know, they're not trying to make a lot of money out of shit beer. They're making good beers and pushing them.
I would never criticise Beavertown. Beavertown is amazing.
The thing is, you go to the Beavertown Brewery tap, and what are they doing 2/3 at? £2.50 across the board.
Yeah.
For 2/3.
It's not bad.
You go to somebody like Lovey Bonds, they're charging you West End prices at Lovey Bonds in Henley, with the brewery right next door to the brewery tap. So how do they justify that?
I know which I prefer.
Henley's pretty expensive. It's a pretty expensive part of the country.
Not Newcastle prices, put it that way.
Okay, we have another question from Twitter. Is there still room for more new breweries in the UK?
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Any more yes?
Question.
Any no's?
Not if they're called hunters, they're not.
I
Not if they're called hunters.
I think a new brewery will struggle. You've got to stand out. How do you stand out? No, really.
Don't make Devon Dreamer.
By doing a quadruple
It's easy to say what not to brew.
Okay, that's quite topical actually, Matt. That you've just thrown that in there.
In the Midlands, it's quite hard. Well, quite easy. Sorry, I reckon.
The program on BBC this week. I'm not sure how many of the people here in tonight watched it, but I watched it yesterday, and it was a little bit, typical BBC type fare. But how do people feel that the brewery was portrayed in that particular show? How do you think the guy was portrayed? Let's get people's views on that, because it's quite topical at the moment.
I thought it was quite generous.
I had a lot of tweets off Hunter's Brewery after.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been very active on Twitter in the last few days. Bearing in mind that I think their last previous tweet was in May or something. Then all of a sudden they've become like the world's biggest tweeter.
Considering a lot of the show is based around their branding. I got a tweet that they sent me. I'll just go through it about their branding and the fact that they're not taking it forward.
Oh, this was last night, wasn't it? I saw this.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's only for the export market. The
Yeah.
brand. They're not going to roll it out in England.
Yeah, my question was the new bottle designs. When will you be rolling them out? And they said only for export. Sorry, to totally rebrand would cost too much, and it wasn't our biggest problem. Considering they spent 45 grand on the bottling machine.
We're not bothered about you drinking it.
That they didn't
Yeah.
use.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a bit. Yeah. There you go.
Any other comments on that particular?
I think breweries of like Hunter's Ilk brewing just like tepid, typical stereotypical brown beers. It's just no place for them anymore. I mean, they're just a dying breed, and they should be eliminated.
I don't think they are. They're really not. I mean, if we look at GBBF, and I was looking at Tendelman's reply to someone on his blog about it. I mean, and I'm very much of the camp of saying GBBF isn't what the best of British beer.
No.
But his attitude was, well, actually, most ale drinkers, that's what they drink, and we are a kind of a niche within a niche. So, and I think
you've got to keep reminding yourself of that. We are slightly different. We are odd. We are. Yeah, we are.
Yeah. We are a niche within a niche. Look, it's Saturday night, and we're in front of a computer drinking cans of expensive beer. I mean, it's not normal.
I've got 6 toes on 1 foot. You know, it's bound to be odd. But
yeah, but the pubs where all these brown beers are peddled in, they're the ones shutting down. The ones that we drink in, they're the ones that have been, they're sort of coming like Phoenix from the flames almost.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think for me, breweries like Mordew have got like a stable set of beers that have been around for years. And if they just relied on those beers, they would struggle. Well, I don't know whether struggle is the right word. They would sell like a decent amount of those beers. But what they've given the head brewer is license to brew a load of like off-the-wall beers. Said, look, just get yourself away, brew whatever you like. We'll back you because he's brilliant.
And yeah, Rob is spot on as a brewer, by the way.
Yeah,
excellent.
And I think they've kind of accepted the transition between what I think of old breweries and new breweries. There's a lot of new breweries around at the minute who have sprouted up, they brew a pale ale, and they'll try and do something else alongside that. Well, the old breweries have never produced a pale ale, so they're now trying to catch up along those lines. It's a bit of a balancing act for them. Some breweries do it well, some breweries don't do it so well. But it's going to be a difficult transition for a lot of breweries, I would think.
Well, you've seen just this week Guinness have produced 2 more beers, haven't they?
Classic.
Yeah, you see, you guys talk about that. I got
normal range.
those beers.
Ian's over that.
Yeah, I actually got invited to Guinness to actually have a look at their pilot brewery as well. Something which has never been done before, where they let anyone in here to have a look at the pilot brewery. There's a couple of things, and I've seen loads of people blog and write about this, and a couple of things have actually pissed me off. And I'm actually not a Guinness apologist at all. In fact, I'm the first dude to be standing there with an axe on top of them. But they're not trying to invade the craft beer space. They're not trying to pretend this is craft beer. And they're not even trying to pretend this is crafty beer like Blue Moon. They're just like, okay, these are just different variants on Guinness. One of them is a 3.8% porter, which basically tastes of nothing, has zero aroma, has very, very little in the taste, very, very little in the mouthfeel. And then they've got the 6% West Indies porter, which has a slightly hoppy aroma, but again, for 6%, it gives you nothing. You take Brewdog's Brixton porter, and it pisses all over it. I mean, Guinness them putting this out is more about them losing sales on their traditional black and white pint of Guinness than anything else.
Peel that back. Is that the essence of craft? They're doing something that they've never done before,
They have done these before. They did it 200 years ago before. These are based on recipes that are about 200 and 150 years old. One of them is 1796. The other one is 18 something. And again, it's the essence of the recipes. And I mean, they'll spin you the story about the origin of porter, which is debatable, shall I say. But you know,
what's their
it's
take
not
on it?
nothing new. All they're doing is they're rehashing two recipes from the late 1700s and the early 1800s that they didn't work for them then, and they're like, okay, so we'll modernize and bring them up now. And even when you talk to their head of their pilot brewery, Luis Ortega, sorry, I should say, he'll even say, look, hey, this is not an attempt for them to try to be crafty, try to label it as craft or otherwise. It is what it is. It's just the fact is, Guinness is on the decline. So they're like, okay, so what can we do that helps diversify our range? You need to put this in the context of Guinness Light or Brio.
Do they themselves not like it?
Here's the thing. When this was actually designed and this entire brewers project was put together, they said to the brewers, "Hey, we want you to dictate what this beer is, these beers are going to be like." And there's going to be 3 beers. So they've only launched 2 of them so far. And the only thing that the marketing team had an input in was, "Hey, you cannot exceed 6% as an ABV." So the West Indies one, it can't be anything more than 6%. And the Dublin Porter was about 3.8%, so it still falls into even Guinness mid-strength, which is favourite amongst golf clubs in Ireland.
They're targeting Guinness drinkers, though, aren't really?
They are targeting Guinness drinkers. Guinness drinkers are stopping drinking Guinness because it's an expensive hobby.
And it tastes crap.
I mean, let's not forget. I mean, we all joke about Guinness. I mean, I'm the first one standing there with an axe and a shotgun at macro breweries. I mean, I'm the guy who started the hashtag of "Say No to Fizzy Piss," and I'm the first person to stand there as a detractor of macro breweries. I mean, I really am. But let's be honest here.
Commerciality is everything. The vast majority of bars in Newcastle would not be there if they weren't selling lager.
Exactly. I mean, here's the thing with this. I look at this as simply one thing. No brewer, even the guys who are working in the pilot plant in St. James's Gate in Dublin, not a single one of them wakes up in the morning and goes, I want to brew a shitty beer. No brewer worth their salt wakes up in the morning and goes, that is my modus operandi, that is what I want to do. And the guys who are in there, you talk to any of them in the pilot brewery, they are as passionate about beer as any craft brewer who I've ever spoken to, and that includes my trip to Brewdog, and everyone who listens to my podcast knows I am the biggest Brewdog mark on the planet, and I am unashamed about that. And I'm unashamed about my love of Stone Brewing, Dogfish Head, Lagunitas, and a whole heap of US brewers. But the guys in Guinness, their hands are very, very tied. What happens in the pilot plant does not transfer to their commercial plant. When it goes to commercial plant, anything about fresh hops out the window. Hop extract comes in because it's about brew house efficiency more than anything else.
Okay, let's have a little bit of a break.
Hang on, we didn't that was good in a break.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
That was very good. Thank you, Ian.
Very well.
Somebody was paying attention at the Beer Bloggers Conference.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or has Ian gone really quiet?
It's gone quiet.
You got a little bit. I've tried to boost.
Yeah, let's go quiet. Yeah.
What's everyone?
Quiet in the same sentence.
I was about to crack open this.
Oh, sorry about that.
I'm drinking this. I'm holding this up. Saison du Pont.
Oh, you lucky bastard!
And I got a fucking badge, didn't I?
Number 1. So that's like your 4th badge of the night. Hashtag ultimate badge wanker.
Mark,
to the farm,
say
motherfucker.
you are a badge wanker, utterly and truly.
I'm wanking it up.
I mean, you're a good mate, but you're a badge wanker.
I'm getting a bit dizzy, guys. I think that Crema Brewery's catching up with me, but I've got my beer.
Yeah, I reckon it might have done.
Remember that.
Stick your drinking.
You've
pants
still got
on.
your 15% barley wine to do, haven't you?
I might have that for breakfast.
Yeah.
It's still early, man. It's still very early.
Look,
It's like a 2 hour past my
Very-
bedtime.
You're not back work on Monday. You know.
look, Mark, look.
Why
You
is he
better catch up
so
to this.
quiet now? Someone needs to turn that man's volume up.
Ian, your bottle hasn't moved at all in the last hour.
Has anyone seen Duty?
Yeah, where has Doody gone?
Judy!
Perhaps he's having a comfort break.
Judy, you're allowed to talk, buddy.
That's very polite.
Hello.
Judy, what are you drinking now, mate? What are you drinking now?
Now on to the Buxton Stolen Fruit.
What style is that?
Oh, is that collab? Is that the
I think it's stout time.
the stout, the kind of weird barrel aged stout type thing?
No, the stout is called Grain and Grape.
That's a collab with Omnipollo, I presume.
Yeah, this is another collaboration with Omnipollo. It's a sour wheat beer with pink grapefruit zest and juice.
Ooh.
You just said the magic words there, pink grapefruit. Much maligned.
Why is pink grapefruit better than normal grapefruit? What it is?
Because it has that little bit of like lightness to it compared to regular grapefruit, and the bitterness actually just is a little bit more balanced.
Carl, I assume you've finished that bottle of beer by now, mate.
Yeah, that's gone. I said I started this. But
Oh yeah, you did as well.
You've
Sorry.
already done Carl, mate.
Sorry, buddy. Chris
just
and
showing
Emma,
off
Let's
again.
take over right now.
Chris and Emma, what are you up to?
I'm waiting for Emma to finish her beer.
Oh, I'm just drinking the last little bit of my Axe Edge, my Buxton Axe Edge. Which is part of a whole case of Buxton beers that we had that we've enjoyed hugely.
Oh, I didn't realise you wanted the Axe Edge.
Yeah, the Axe Edge, not the double axe. This is the precursor to double
Oh, I
axe.
see. I see.
Building up.
Matt, what about you, mate?
Brian says, intends not to.
I'm on the 4 Pure IPA now.
Oh,
Nice.
good choice.
Oh, good
It's-
call.
it's- With the launch of the Beavertown cans, it got kind of lost in the whole system, but this is a really, really good beer.
The session IPA is lovely here.
But this is the IPA. The proper
What's with the red plastic tops on top of those cans?
Dunno. Oh, observant.
Every time I see a picture, I'm confused. Mr. Lambert, what are you drinking?
Are people drawing the cans?
What?
Are people drawing the cans?
Oh, don't talk about cans.
No, it's
Miles.
all right. It's all right. Connor's not.
Connor's not here. We
I'm
can
gonna
go back
start ranting
saw
and
Connor.
swearing at everyone.
Fine.
Was Connor talking about cans or was he talking about hype?
Well, I think he started off
Talking
talking
about
about
both
hype
things
and he ended
at
up
the
talking
time.
about cans.
Miles, what are you drinking? This is a proper car crash video now. Miles, what beer are you drinking presently, sir?
You would love this. This is Mocha Milk Stout.
Oh, I would love that.
You would love it.
Yeah.
Is that a time bank one, Miles?
Time Bank Brewery, yes, that's the one.
Absolutely, it's excellent. Absolutely excellent.
Fantastic beer.
Robert from Hopzine, what are you drinking?
Kind of Gamma Ray.
Oh shit.
And then I'm moving on to what I picked up at GBBF. It's a bottle of Emily's Imperial Russian Stout, the Buffalo Trace. That's what I'm heading towards next.
Very nice, Mr. Barlow.
I've got a Cheddar Owl's Crown and Glory. 5 different hops, 1 flag. Not bad.
You tweeted just before, Mr. Barlow. Jesus Christ, we're still going.
I'm
Are you
down.
right?
I'm ahead of you, lot. Come on, drink up. The night's young. Come on.
You're on
Put the
second.
slip-knot on me. Come on.
Stevie, what are you up to, buddy?
I've gone Uber Craft. I am drinking a Buxton Brewery Wolf's Coat Black Sour.
Oh,
That's such a
wow.
great beer. Love that beer.
Excellent choice.
I think I win this round.
He's drinking it from one of Colin's. He's drinking it from one of Colin's Puroform kind of wellies as well.
Yeah. I tried to go as craft as you can get.
Oh, I'm feeling numb.
If you're feeling numb, you should probably stop.
I think you might need medical assistance.
Are heart
Exactly
palpitations normal when you drink?
Absolutely not.
No,
But gentlemen, can I suggest, or ladies?
What's that?
This is what is known as the evil twin, Ryan and the Beaster Bunny.
Ryan and the Beaster Bunny.
Absolutely.
Oh, do we have any more questions from Twitter, Steve?
No, there are still some people commenting on the most recent comment is there was a hashtag all the milk stout Lockin from @Lou on Brew. There's still a few people. Connor's just popped up saying I hope it all went well tonight. Timely. About 30 seconds after we were all ripping him apart. So I've just told him he can still watch because we're still going. There's still a few people with us.
There is one question.
Is there?
Yeah, that we haven't covered yet. Is Timothy Taylor Landlord the most overrated beer of all time?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Yes.
no.
Great beer.
No.
There's some.
Is Green King IPA actually rated though? Come on.
There's far worse beers than that.
Yeah, exactly.
that's
There's
not-
far
that's not right,
worse beers than that.
Camden Hells.
I would say Camden Hells, the filtered version is piss, and I can't stand it. The unfiltered really
What do
nice.
you mean?
The unfiltered one is drinkable. The normal one is horrible.
Yeah.
Mark, you're a hater. That's
Style
all I
over
can say.
substance. It's all marketing.
Yeah, and
Mark
I
is
like
a
the Camden
hater.
guys, but I mean the unfiltered really nice. The Camden Hills filtered is just. I had it in a pub in Camden, and it was never again.
I love
You're a
you,
hater, Mark. That's all I can say.
And
I say that
Cannonballs.
with all the love and affection of your buddy from the Irish Isle.
Don't start on Cannonball now.
Obviously, Sharp's Doom Bar is quite overrated too.
I like Doom Bar.
I like Doom Bar. It's
Well,
no bad as Glory, Golden
No,
Glory, but yeah, it's nice.
hang on. Did you just say you like Sharp's Doom Bar? Get
Yeah.
out.
It's biscuity. It's like a Bourneville.
Hey, it's okay though because the Sharps Master Brewer tasted the best of the Hunter beers and selected which one he should sell. So they must be doing something right.
No. Mark,
think
your
that at the
craft
time,
wanker
watching
card
that
is
bit, I was like-
old.
I don't think I've actually earned my Craft Wanker badge yet.
I think you do. I don't think it's just got yanked on you.
Now, I have drank so much craft beer in the last 2 years, and to be honest with you, badge is Golden Glory. Just give that to me in a pint half from tap, and I'll be happy. Peachy.
It's synthetic.
Mark, what's your favourite?
Mark, you're coming over here in the new year with Steve, and you know what? If you actually decide that I see you pouring a pint of Molson Coors Canadian, you're getting a foot in your ass. I'm telling you that now.
I need to eat something more than potatoes, though, buddy, when I'm there.
Well, it's
Potatoes and cabbage. I need
interesting
something
because
more than that.
we've just been asked another question, actually, guys, that ties in quite nicely to this conversation. And this question's actually come from Mark Swy. I have a question. If you had no other choice, would you drink Stella or piss?
Piss.
That's
Sorry, piss wins every time.
Sorry, I drink Stella.
Yeah, at least.
Emma, you're incredibly brave.
It
I'll
depends.
say that to you.
Are you drinking Craft Wanker piss, or are you drinking normal piss?
Exactly.
Because Craft Wanker piss would have like a slight hoppiness profile to it, wouldn't it? It's slightly fruity.
Do you know what? I love the fact that Emma is just utterly so brave that she's like, you know what? Stella is better than piss anytime.
Just being silly.
Stella isn't that bad.
Oh,
What you can say like
Oh.
piss.
He's petrol.
Duty speaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
That's a
don't have a
comparison
wife to
piss.
beat, though, mate. You're alright, drinking Stella.
I wouldn't choose it over, say, what I'm drinking now. But if I was in a pub where Stella was like the only option, then why not?
Fine.
I would rather drink water.
I'm actually trying to
honestly
figure out
would.
which scenario I would actually be in where Stella is actually an option.
You're all getting away from the fact that the other option is piss.
I don't care. Stella. It's Stella. Stella versus piss.
How is
Piss
this
wins
still
every
being
time.
If it's my piss, I don't mind. Or if it's Jennifer Aniston's piss, I don't mind.
Always remember this: if you're talking about drinking piss, piss is at your own disposal. Stella is the subject of a committee-driven beer, so 12 people at least have thought about what went into that fucking beer.
So
The piss, throw people's piss.
The commerciality gets you drinking your own piss over Stella.
Oh, I'm happy either way. Piss wins over Stella every time.
Then again, Carlin is worse than Stella, so what's that?
Oh, that's just where I'm like, okay, I'll actually drink liquid death before I'll drink Carling.
Exactly.
And I will stand on ceremony. You can quote me on that. 11 p.m. somewhere says drinking liquid death is better than drinking Carling.
Ian, would you rather that the pisser had been drinking Stella or Colin?
Yeah, definitely.
Is there an option there where suicide is an option?
There's just been some seismic activity in the Norwich area.
Seriously, I just couldn't bring myself to drink Stella Artois. I would
But
actually
you could bring
physically
yourself
gag.
to drink your own piss.
Yeah, I would actually find less of a problem in terms of a gag reflex
There
than
is
drinking
help.
Stella Artois.
But have you ever done a wee where it smells kind of appley? And you can kind of pretend it's cider.
I don't know, Mark. I'm not a phenologist.
Okay, when
Oh,
I'm
doctor.
packed out this evening, I didn't see this conversation happening.
No.
I'm going to try and rein it back in because we've
Come
got
on.
another serious question coming.
You don't know what's
Go on.
better than that, Steve.
This is from at Fixed Wheel Brewery on Twitter. What grabs your eyes when what grabs your eyes for a new experience in bottled beer? So when you're looking at bottles, what is it that's gonna draw you into something new?
It's it from Brewdog.
Obvious answer.
It's an unfamiliar label. Something unfamiliar.
Yeah. I'm a big one for the label.
Yeah, label is actually the big thing.
Tell you
Labels.
what's bad about labels. What is bad about labels is if they have too much writing on them.
How about this?
Yes.
This little
People
bastard.
go on and describe their beers too much, and they have too much to say about them, and then you open them and they don't taste of anything, and you think, yeah, maybe you should spend more time brewing your beer than talking about it.
Emma, can you stick your hand up for a second? I'm gonna virtual high five you.
Okay, I'm high-fiving you right now.
They can't be too simple though that they look like they're sold from a market.
No, but you don't need to have a big essay on the back of your beer label
Exactly.
describing how people should feel while they're drinking it.
You say that, Mark. What's the kernel beers? Labels and the kernel beers.
Yeah, they look shit.
No, they
If I didn't look Kernel, I would think they were homebrew. And no offense to homebrew, because I love homebrew, but I would not think that they're at the quality that they are, and they are amazing beers.
It's
Simplicity changes.
This is different. That's the point. That is different from any other brew you're gonna get. When you see that,
it's based on Evan's
you know
home
exactly where
brew.
it comes from.
Simplicity is genius at times.
Mark, was that you? Honestly,
No, not me.
Mark, that
I'm
better
putting that
not
on
have been you.
Duty. I'm putting that on Duty. Yeah,
Have
he's only
some
had
manners,
good old.
people, honestly.
He hasn't had a word all night, but
Sorry.
he discussed us all.
Going on labels, the polar opposite of the sort of plain Colonel label was a beer called Quaffing Gravy. I don't know if anyone's heard of it.
Exactly the beer I was thinking about.
That's local to
If
me.
you go to the Quaffing Gravy website, they basically bang on for hours and hours about how they developed the label and the look of the beer. And the beer is absolutely dreadful.
That is
Absolutely.
exactly the beer I was thinking about. They tell you how
Yeah.
you should feel when you're drinking it, and you
Yeah.
drink the beer, and it's just boring.
Yeah.
Did you say quaffing gravy?
Quaffing Gravy, yeah.
It looks really exciting, but it's a crushing disappointment.
Do you know what's funny is Emma says that about, you know, how you should feel about a beer, crushing disappointments. Do you know, that just sounds exactly like what comes out of Anheuser-Busch and Miller Coors. You know, you can't have fun without our beers. You know, if you drink these beers will make you cool. You could have a load of fun drinking our beers. You know, Emma, hang on, stick both your hands up. Double high five!
Really doing it. Really double high-fiving you right now.
Well,
Yeah, see, Quaffing Gravy are local to me. I mean, that you're absolutely bang on. They are the perfect example of it just being done wrong, not badly, just actually in a really kind of like dishonest way. I mean, the two marketing guys, and it's brewed at a place called Naylor's, a brewery which is about a mile and a half, 2 miles from me.
We actually bought that bottle in Saltaire. We bought that Quaffing Gravy bottle in Saltaire, and we were like, oh, give this a go. Sounds interesting.
Exactly. I mean, apparently, well, Naylor's do really boring, slightly substandard like cask ale. It's not terrible, but I mean, it's not gonna set anybody's world on fire. But that's it. It's proclaiming to be more than it is, and it was apparently these two marketing guys went into this, went to Naylor's and said, "Can you do us something similar to Sierra Nevada Pale Ale?" And what came out of it was a beautiful looking bottle, but a substandard beer.
Quaffing gravy.
Style over substance, my friend. Style over substance.
Speak for itself.
Whereas Colonel just needs a brown bit of paper wrapped around the bottle, that's it.
Exactly.
Spectrum.
Is the difference not?
What about brew by numbers?
Let's try and produce another beer.
Ooh.
Brew
Whoa,
by
did someone
numbers.
say brew by numbers?
Yeah, me.
Oh, come on.
Brew by
Give them
numbers
a
looks
break.
like the sort of budget range of Co-op.
Oh, come on. Cut
Yeah, I
them
think it's very
slack.
stylish.
They're a good brewery.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah, but they look like a budget range from Co-op.
No.
I think they're
Stylish.
very similar to Colonel, though. They're very similar to Colonel with the whole kind of marketing kind of.
Yeah. But Colonel have their own image. Colonel have their own beers. Their beers are distinctive enough.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
That's the important thing. If their beers are distinctive enough, they'll have their own image, no matter what they do with the labels or whatever.
I think Colonel just brew with whatever they've got, don't they? Just throw it in the fermenter and that's it.
Pretty much, yep.
No.
Colonel beers match their labels. They're stripped back and simple.
Actually,
with
hang on.
Yeah.
Grills and bells and whistles. I think it's all about stripping it right back. Like their yeast is very dull and very plain.
Well,
Dumb-
You know what? It's very disingenuous
fresh
to turn
beer.
around and say to Colonel,
Equally, Colonel's imagery could be the most fantastic imagery ever, and we would still know it as Colonel.
Exactly.
It would be the same beer. You would just know it. That's the point.
It's anti-
when it's
branding.
said and done about Colonel, honestly, like, you know, hand on heart, do you really believe that Colonel is style over substance? Honestly.
No, not in the slightest.
No, I think their labels reflect their beer.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think.
And also
I
Evan
think
Head Brewer as well.
80% of London. I think 80% of London owe a lot to Colonel. I mean, Colonel set the standard. Colonel made a template that a lot of people have copied since. I think they're still doing incredible stuff. I mean, Imperial Brown Stout is one of the best beers brewed in this country.
I actually think that the Colonel.
Rob, stick both your hands up.
Undersold themselves. Colonel could be a far bigger brewery for that.
Colonel could be a massive brewery, but I don't think Evan, the head brewer there, gives a shit, does he?
No,
Exactly what he's doing.
Can you tell Colonel Beers from other beers?
He is the beery kung fu master.
Yeah.
I mean, he is the Zen master of beer.
Go, come on, high five me, come on.
But yeah,
Don't leave a brother hanging. Come on, don't leave a brother hanging. It's not cool.
I'm there, Ian. I'm there.
Thank you.
He's he's incredible. I mean, he's responsible for the boost in beer in London, I'd say.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's very, very easy to beat the shit out of them as a brewery. It really, really is. I mean, when you're talking about a brewery like that, it's really easy to take a hammer to them or a baseball bat to them. But you know what? They've actually turned out some really fantastic beers that, you know what, if you actually put them in front of people who are along the lupulin path, as I like to call it, it's a really easy beer to put people in the path of.
I don't think anyone's criticising Colonel at all. I've only ever had one port beer from Colonel, and that was one that was totally undercarbonated. Everywhere you had it had no carbonation.
Sorry, Emma, which one was that?
Yeah.
The double 4C.
Yeah, that's the one, yes.
That's why it stayed on keg at one of the Brewdog bars for about 2 months, because no one wanted to drink it because it was flat as fuck.
Yeah, apparently it built condition in the bottle over months.
Yeah, you had to put it next to a radiator for about 2 months, and it was fine.
But is that not teething problems? Is that not?
No, it's not a teething problem. No, I don't think. I don't know what it was. It was some kind of error, but they left it on. People talked about it. It was known about, but the keg still stayed on. The bottle still stayed in the shop. But
I find that surprising they would keep it down, though.
Actually, can I ask just that one question? Just when you actually mentioned that, how tolerant actually are people about teething problems with new breweries?
Yeah, well, that's a different question because that's not a teething problem. But okay, good question. It depends. Let's take a brewery like 4Pure, and they've got a canning room, and people have cans coming out of there, so they have their beers in bottles, on draft, in cans. People have had variable beers. So some people have had the Session IPA and said, wow, this is so... I had it one day and it was so hoppy, it out-hopped Lagunitas IPA, and I was like, this is a great beer. And then I had the Pure IPA and I thought, oh, that's a bit tame. That's the wrong way around, isn't it? Surely like the IPA should be more punchy in hop flavour and hop aroma than the Session IPA. I mean, surely that should be how it works. So I've had good beers from them.
Okay.
There are some consistency issues, but because I've had good beers from them, I'm happy to keep trying their beers and keep the faith that they're going to...
One of the main things with 4Pure Brewery is the fact that they are canning stuff. Would you have noticed them if they weren't?
That's a really good question, and it's a question that I've asked before.
Actually, it is.
I asked that question when Connor was talking about cans. Look on his blog. I asked
he would know.
He always talks about cans.
Well, no, that's actually a really good
about
question.
Cans. He was ranting about cans, wasn't he?
No, that actually is a really, really salient question. I mean, how much are we willing to overlook when it comes to a craft beer that's actually in a can? Because sometimes I get the impression that when it comes to craft beers that's in cans, that imperfections in the beer or problems with the beer, we're actually more willing to overlook them than problems with a beer that actually has just gone into can. Again, just purely because it's in a can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I totally agree that there's a bad thing about cans. But what I would expect is that people judge beers as beers first and foremost, no matter what they've come out of. And actually, if you have a beer that's from a can, it's going to be different than it's from a bottle. I don't know whether
absolutely.
You get like you get a different freshness. There's different things that last longer in a can than in a bottle.
I'm going to say the best can that I've had is Maui Brewing Coconut Porter.
Oh, put both your hands up. Put both your hands up. Come on. Put both your hands up. Come on. Do it. Go.
It's really, really fresh, and I don't know, there's something about the taste of it. It needs to be in a can, even though I didn't expect it to be in a can.
Coconut.
Yeah.
That is the difference.
In a can.
Fresh coconut. Not dried, not dehydrated, not fucking desiccated. Fresh coconut.
Yeah,
That
but
is
it's,
the difference.
it's been sent on a ship all the way from Hawaii, and by the time it gets here, it's been stewing in a ship's hold or some
It tastes
container
amazing,
for
though.
6 months.
It tastes amazing.
It doesn't
Don't be such a hater.
I honestly
I'm with him. I mean, I think it's not what I hoped it'd be. I mean, it's a good beer, but it's not that coconutty, really. The double version, though,
Oh, no, yeah, hang
That's a whole
on.
different
Stick your
story.
hands up, go on. Rob, stick your hands up, go on. Get in there.
Yeah, the Imperial version is a lot more coconutty, and it was
The
very good.
Imperial version's insane. It's super coconutty. It's like coconutty
But
times
it's
10.
attention, doesn't it? I mean, just the concept itself, it grabs people's attention, and that's a great thing. I mean, that was a beer that I was wanting for a long time. I mean, it sounds great.
Oh,
Coconut.
it's the beauty of a beer.
Come on.
I hate coconut. Just
I know you do, Steve. We've had this conversation.
Yeah,
You've got an aversion to fucking coconuts.
Did we have this conversation?
We did, actually. And it was around the Maui Brewing Company as well.
Why do you not like coconut, Steve?
I've never liked coconut. Never liked a bounce.
Steve doesn't like anything.
Never
He doesn't like ketchup.
macaroon.
You don't like ketchup?
Anything.
Even Mark likes it.
Steve actually just
doesn't
has
like
an
ketchup.
abhorrence of coconuts. That's what it comes down to. Steve actually, if Steve had his way, the world would have no coconuts.
No, there'd be no coconut. There's no place for coconut in this world.
There we
There
go.
really isn't.
Shut your mouth.
Oh,
Bouncy
Steve.
bar.
No.
I'm sorry, I
It's
might disappoint you like this.
No, those nuts could be bubbles of pure cannonball growing on trees. They're just taking up valuable space.
Steve, this is a repeat of our conversation in Musa a couple of weeks back.
I do not remember this conversation. I really do not.
Oh my god!
Either Steve was
Dude,
drunk or
I'm worried.
Ian was hallucinating. Which was it?
No. I was actually fairly sober. I remember what was
Probably the
said.
former, to be fair.
Do we have any more questions for the crew?
Yes, there are two questions that have come in. Firstly, what do we think of Bishop's Farewell by Oakham?
Don't know.
Anybody
It's
had
okay.
it?
It's alright.
Can I chip in and say that it's one of those beers that I thought, here's another average beer here. But actually it was really nice.
It's actually alright as a beer. There's nothing wrong with it. It's
Better than expected.
It's basically a typical Oakham beer. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it. End of. That's it.
My
Oakham
local,
are like Redemption. Their stuff is very, very similar all the time. It's just a variation on the theme.
Yes.
There you go then. That was a question from @Grub&Grain, so there's your answer. And then the next one is, again, this is from @Fixed-Wheel Brewery. What's the feeling of finings in beer? Is it just an excuse for breweries who can't filter their beer?
No, see, here's the thing. Someone talks about findings. No. Findings is two different things. You talk about macro breweries who want to stick their fish bladders in there for findings. And then you got people who actually want to go around using like filters, that mash filters and the rest of it. And then people who've got like Brewdog who are interested in their, the cool filter that we'd seen. Yeah, exactly. Findings in brewers, you need to talk about what the brewers actually want from their beers. You got people who are leaning towards the Belgian side of things. They have their own version of what they think findings are supposed to be. People who are towards the US style of beers, they have their own vision of what findings are supposed to be in terms of how their beers are supposed to look. It's a very, very brewer-centric type of deal.
Yep, totally agree. And I would just go back to the first beer we had, Kipling, and say people were talking about the contrast between London murky beers and talking about Thornbridge. And beers from Thornbridge aren't completely clear and bright by accident. That's the way they want them to look. That is the way they brew them.
They're just cold filters, aren't they?
They really want them to look clean and clear like that, and they put the work into it to make them look like that on purpose. It's not an accident.
Not one to offend anyone, but it's what I've noticed. Like I'm Northern Irish, and I've no real sort of issue with this, but it's a very Northern England thing.
There's a divide.
To have bright beer. That your beer has to be bright, or there's something wrong with it.
There's a perception that if your beer is not bright, there's a fault in the brewing.
And
it's a North
exactly.
Noticed. And it's not strictly true, but we've certainly observed it in talking to Northern head brewers of certain breweries that everyone likes here, as compared to drinking beers in the South and talking to head brewers of London breweries that everyone likes here. There is a difference in perception of whether something is right or wrong. Me, personally, if I taste a beer and it tastes nice and it doesn't taste like it's unfinished, it doesn't taste like there's a problem with it, I don't mind if it's not completely transparent. Certain brewers from the North might disagree with me because they think that if a beer is not completely clear, it's not finished.
In the Midlands, I think we'd drink any old shit, whether or not it's flat or not.
Wow, no one leaped to defence there. That was the worrying part. Not a single person leaped into defence.
Drink any old shit.
Everyone knows. Everybody knows, yeah.
Don't mention the sparklers.
Has anyone leaped to defence on Twitter? Not even worrying.
Can I just say, we just had a tweet in about 4 minutes ago from Rowan Molyneux saying she's got this entire Lockin up on her tally, so if everyone can just give Rowan a wave.
Hi, Rowan.
Hi.
Come see us. We're waving
I
at
think we should all do Ian's double hands, double high fives to Rowan.
Now, have you guys ever found yourself? This is a question from Broad Brewer.
Oh, what's he still?
Hi, Dave. We love you, Dave.
Have you ever caught yourself overthinking beer?
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. The last 3 hours.
Every day. Every hour of every day.
Does that mean beer that we brew, or beer that we buy, or beer that we drink?
It's beer that we drink, I would imagine.
In its very essence.
It's at every lunchtime.
Honestly, I don't. I think I overthink beer that I brew, but I don't overthink that a beer that I drink. If that makes any sense. I just drink it.
I don't overthink anything I put in my mouth.
Wow, Mark, how dare you?
It's essentially 95% water, so you don't need to overthink
it. Mark, I'm going to hold you to that when you come over here next year when someone says, you know, blah, and you're just going to like, okay.
Moving on. Next.
Yeah, I think.
I think that we definitely do overthink beer that we drink as well as beer that we brew. Probably we think. Well, I think about brewing a lot, and sometimes I dream about brewing, and I think about it, or various times during the day. Probably think about beer that I drink a little bit less, but definitely we overthink everything to do with it. I think.
Emma, can I just pose this to you, Emma? You know, as someone who works in, you know, brewing beers and being involved in the day-to-day beers.
Yes.
Do you think that it's a good thing that people who are either new to beers are either overexposed in some respects or underexposed to the realities of craft beer?
So that's actually quite a good question, Ian.
Very interesting question. Do you mean, say, if somebody, you're trying to introduce them to craft beer?
Exactly, yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it could be really overwhelming because then they might start trying to think about, you know, the packaging and the imagery and what other people are drinking rather than the experience of just going somewhere and having a beer and do you like it or not, you know. If you like that, do you want to drink this other beer, then, yeah, I would never want for it to put people off. And I think Nate made a really good point about this recently about trying to convert people, how those of us that are really into beer can sometimes try to be too passionate and try and persuade people that we know that we think they might make the switch maybe from drinking lager to drinking real ale or drinking craft beer, and sometimes we can be a bit kind of pushy with them and we can be like, oh no, you might like, oh if you like that, oh, I know something really good, you should try it. And I think sometimes we can be a bit too pushy. So, yeah, I think it can be bad to kind of overexpose people who have no experience. What is
hang
this?
on,
I don't know.
let me just take that word that you used.
Convert.
Let me just take that phrase, converted.
If you said it about religion, we'd all be really offended, wouldn't we?
Exactly. That's exactly the question I was going to ask
I read
next.
a blog post recently.
The thing with it is that you don't want to force it. You don't like. I know so many lads who drink lager and whatnot, and I'll say to them, "Try this, try this, try this, try this," and they look at me like I'm talking Hebrew or something.
Like that.
You know, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink lager. But you feel ridiculous. You don't want to become some sort of preacher. You don't want to be like forcing people to try things.
Yeah, no, you become
the line between an evangelist and a preacher.
Yeah.
Well, it's a fine line.
Semantics, isn't it, really?
Yeah, I think it is.
I think a big part of it is I don't know how other people feel about it, but I'm passionate about sort of food and beer and things tasting good. And one of the most frustrating things is one of me and Emma's friends. He's from Newcastle. Who's really into his food. He loves eating it. Like, he lives down in London now, and he loves eating great food. He goes to Michelin star restaurants, but the man will just guzzle cheap lager. The cheapest lager, the better. He's just a star restaurant that essentially is drinking the McDonald's of lager.
It doesn't make any sense.
And it's so frustrating. We've tried to get him on to other beers. Try this. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try that? He just.
The thing is, he kind of epitomizes the expression "drink like a fish" because, not that he has any sort of drinking problem, but simply because he drinks very quickly. So,
Actually,
that he
can
drinks,
I just throw something into the mix here with this?
Wine, beer, lager, he will just neck them all because that's just the way that he drinks.
Sorry, Emma. Did you say he's from Newcastle?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Oh, well, that sums it up, really.
If you notice, a lot of restaurants.
Recently, I did an interview with one of our premier radio celebrities in Ireland, and we were talking about the idea of what beer is and people's perceptions of beer. And one of the things that he actually raised, which I thought was actually a pretty salient point, given our love of craft beer, is that there's part of the population who believes that alcohol and beer is nothing more than an alcohol delivery system. And there's another part of it who actually understands that beer has so much more to offer in terms of the flavour, the aromas, and the entire experience as a whole. And it kind of made me think about, is beer nothing more than an alcohol delivery system for the majority of the population? Or is beer actually an experience for people who actually take it? And you kind of find yourself asking,
way too deep.
Which side of it is?
Ian, you know what really fucks your head in is it? Which part of it are you?
Actually, I can answer that quite happily. I'm on the experience side of it.
He's not going to drink his own piss.
No.
No, I think that's a really good question, and I think that those of us that really enjoy drinking beer for the flavour, we know which side of the spectrum we're on. But, there are still people that want to go and smash down, 10 pints of Stella because they like things that...
I want to meet that person.
Taste...
Why would you want to do 10 pints of Stella when you can do one bottle of Double Axe and get the same buzz from it?
Come on, Steve. Guys.
Be hanging. Come on.
You go to a Wetherspoons, there can be occasions where you can get a beer on for £2.50 that's like 7%, but still you get the old drunks and soaks that are drinking the Fosters at, I don't know what percentage that is, and they'll still choose that over. So surely if there's some sort of alcoholic delivery system, they'll be choosing the 8% for £2.50, wouldn't they?
You're right though. There's better beers out there, and actually.
So I think it's more about what people know or educating people about what they know.
Definitely.
Maybe Weatherspoons need to have some tasting sessions or something. I don't know. If it's not a matter of cost for Weatherspoons, then maybe they need to start educating people about flavour. If they're not going to charge that much more.
Feel back 2 years, I didn't know. You know, I was still drinking the average beers that I thought were half decent. I wasn't particularly enjoying them. I didn't really know what I wanted to be drinking, but I was still searching for what it was that I wanted to be drinking. Now, the beers are there. The beers that I want to be drinking are there. And actually, I think there's a lot of people in that situation who probably, through snobbery or whatever, are like peeling back and thinking, I don't know what I want to try, but I want to try something. I just need.
What do you want from a beer? Can you say that? Like, let's just take everything back to brass tacks. Okay.
Yeah.
What is it that you actually, and any of us who are on this this Google Live Hangout, what is it that we actually want from a beer, apart from the obvious of honesty and
If I'm honest with you,
artisanship?
I think any of us on this hangout probably have experimented, and actually, I think there's a lot of people out there who aren't that confident in experimenting.
Yeah,
all they want is one person to say, "Look, try this," and it could be the mildest hopped beer ever, and they would be like, "Wow, I've not tasted anything like this before in my life."
Yeah, you're just lucky for the next best beer, really.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All I need is a lead. All I need is a lead, and a lot of people will actually grab it and say, "Look, I thoroughly enjoyed that. What's next?"
What's next? Yeah.
As someone who's relatively new to craft beers, I've only been into them for 2 years or so.
That's a lie.
No, that's
you
true.
can't
Absolutely
call
true.
yourself relatively new anymore.
Okay, relatively new compared to you guys. In comparison to you guys,
Mark,
the best way.
The ridiculous thing is that actually 2 years into it is actually quite a long way.
But I haven't actually I haven't drunk as much as you guys have in the last 2 years. My exposure to the scene is, in comparison to you guys, is quite shallow. And I'll say the best way to get someone into the scene is to give them a beer and explain to them what the hop is and what taste they should be having and what they should be experiencing with the beer. And what the difference between a hop taste and a malt taste is.
Do you think that's information overload, Mark? Just when you put it like that?
I don't. I think if you're going to give someone a beer and say, okay, that biscuitiness you're getting is from the malt, that sweetness you're getting is from the yeast, or that fruitiness you're getting is from the hop.
All I think that you should be demanding is that people look for beers that they enjoy. They don't necessarily know what it is that they're tasting to explore. Once they've tasted it, they can then explore it.
Gary, stick your hand up, dude. Put your hand up to the screen, brother. Come on. Do it. Come on.
I just wish that
There we go.
flavour in their alcohol, but they don't. I have too many friends that like lager because they say it has a lager taste. And I'm like, well, what is it that you like about Stella? Or what is it that you like about Foster's? And what is it you like about that can of Polish, whatever it is? Polish Builder's Lager, yeah. And they say it has a lager flavour. Well, no, it doesn't, because to me it doesn't taste like a traditionally brewed lager. Sometimes people don't want their alcohol to have flavour because they just want to drink.
True.
Cocktails.
Again, comes back to alcohol delivery system.
Well, no,
what you're saying is true for some people, yes.
You know, if a beer is too much flavour for some people, it kind of gets in the way of it and getting it down the throat, and that's just wrong.
It tastes like flavours on. Flavours on it, I like it.
I don't like it about them.
I'll tell you another driving factor for people like us is badges on Untapped. You have a beer, the best beer in the world ever, but you're not having it again because you've already got it, so you're going to move on to the next thing.
I've got that badge. Yeah.
Can I get Can I get an update, please?
And no high fives. But can
You're
I?
a stagnation bed.
Duty's just tweeted. I don't think I could drink much more of this of the double axe. And I'm just thinking. I
Oh,
could just
you're insane. I could drink.
I could pour this down my throat. This is one of the best beers I've ever drank, and yeah, just pour it down my throat.
Can we have a moment of appreciation for the Buxton Double Axe and what a great beer it is?
I'm on the double axe. I'm with you. If we're doing
Had it when
Ian's
it's been in
virtual
the
high
box
fives,
for
I'm there.
3 days.
Can we get an update on what people are drinking, please? What are you up to now, guys?
Double Axe.
Carl, what are you drinking?
I'm back.
I'm on my last glass of this.
Are you still on that? Come on,
Still
man.
on that.
The last glass you started that an hour ago. Matt, what are you drinking?
Matt, the darlings of the summer, Beavertown Black Betty.
Nice.
Of course.
Very good. Doody! You've been so quiet, Doody. What's wrong, mate? You like a little mouse?
Struggling with the Double Axe.
What are you drinking?
Yeah.
You still on the double axe?
Struggling.
Really struggling with it, Michael.
It's crying.
Miles, what are you drinking, mate?
Sorry, we'll come back to that.
This is Panda Frog Pandemonium. If ever there was a beer that wanted to be canned, this is it.
That's what I started with, that one.
Yeah, you did.
That feels like days ago now.
Look at that, man.
Rob from Hop Scene, what are you up to, mate?
I've got a bottle of Emily's Imperial Stout.
Nice.
Rob, you're so hipster. Do you know that?
Absolutely wonderful.
We're all trying to get full on wanking.
Do I have to say, mate?
Fantastic.
It's gone midnight.
Mr. Barlow, what are you
I'm
doing?
going to say
Do I really have to tell you? Do I really?
Mr. Barlow, are you drinking
Yeah,
anything in present?
I'm embarrassed by this.
Is
It's
that
my
piss?
first ever creation.
Is it your own homebrew?
Yeah, it's my own first ever homebrew. I
Oh,
bought a
cool.
kit
What
a couple
style
months
is
ago
that?
by my missus as a present. And I think apparently it's Woodford Wherry, but I stuck a load of clementines in it, and it tastes average. That's all right.
Steve, are you still on the double axe?
I've literally only just cracked it, and it's lovely, but I can understand where Duty's coming from.
Really?
It's hard. It's hard work. It's quite a cloying beer, but
yeah, I think it's interesting in terms of IPAs.
You've got to work at it. You've really got to work at it.
What is the double axe edge forecast in London at the moment, anyway? Because I've not tried it, so I need to find it. Is it anywhere at the moment?
Euston Tap.
You can try the Euston Tap. They did have some bottles there. You could try that. You could try asking them. I'm not sure that
Ibria
it's
website.
Ibria website. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that there's anywhere in London that's going to on tap. But it kind of stimulates, I think, a good discussion about what a double IPA should be like. I'm all now. Okay, so
yeah, you're exactly what I was going to say.
therapy, yes. So and Duty is struggling with it as well.
And I
well, I've got. You're a lightweight.
I reckon I'll do a pint.
No, it's nothing to do with being a lightweight. It's to do with.
Compared to me.
It's not
And it's all.
being a lightweight. It's
What are you
to do
drinking?
with how you like your double IPA.
No, I'm saying you're all lightweights compared to me because I've got my.
Got the laptop down now, and Chris and I just talk to each other about.
Mark that looks a homebrew.
Double IPA, isn't it? Because it's like 12.5%.
13
Opposed to the normal double IPA that's 8.5%.
Is
13.6.
13.6. Okay, so then you're into a range of, is it really a double IPA or is it triple IPA?
I've got my.
Those doubles are about 8, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, 8, 9, something like that. Yeah, this is like way up there.
It's an exact double of aesthetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
in
literal
terms of ABV.
doubling.
So like it's more comparable.
It's certainly more than Mark normally drinks.
Yeah, but it's even more syrupy.
I would say that this is better than Unhuman Cannonball. Stu Ross is going to punch me next week.
Oh, if you got a bottle, it's better than Human Cannonball.
Human Cannonball.
I think Matt really wants to make an announcement.
So we can get into a fight with Magic Rock next week when we see them at Beavertown.
I've got my. This is my final beer for the night. This is my. This is my Bomben and Granitan 15.2%
Oh, okay, so you're going to
ABV
be a while with that, yeah?
barley wine. I love you all.
Mark,
It's
we
been
love
emotional.
you too.
This is the end.
Look. Come on. Put your
Can-
glass
can-
close to the screen, Mark.
I'm
Show
afraid.
us how much you love us.
I'm drinking a barley wine out of a pint glass of 15% barley wine.
Out of an innocent gun glass, as it is, by the way.
Okay. It'll be okay.
Can I just bring it back? There's a couple of comments that we've had in on Twitter. There are still people watching. Amazingly, there are still people watching.
God bless them.
This one was a while ago now.
Steve, sorry, just before you go into comments, you said
No.
this may not work. I hope you're willing to eat your words, buddy.
Well, yeah, I didn't think
I
we'd still be going at this point, but clearly we are. So let's just crack on. Let's keep going.
It's a lock-in. Come on.
The sun
Stop
comes
it.
up soon. Brilliant.
Going.
Cheers, lad.
Keep going.
At Lou on Brew has commented that sometimes she gets annoyed that she's getting drunk because there's always good beer to try, and there's a lot of people feeling the love on that tweet as well, because I think we've all been there, that we've got to a point where we're just absolutely battered, but there's still so much good beer to try in the places that we're in. And then also, just to mention, Rowan, who's still watching us, fantastic hashtag of a moment of appreciation for the Buxton and Double Axe. Jealous of everybody's beers, but yet she's resorted to drinking wine at this point. So glad to have you still
come
with us,
on.
Rowan.
Oh no! I'm sad for Rowan.
Or Kipling, as we like to call it.
Yeah. Depends on what colour wine you're drinking, I suppose.
I quite like to ask, kind of why we grew. I mean, we were talking about people are drinking double axe. I had a chance to have double axe yet. I guess the golden chalice of kind of craft beer is Pliny the Younger. And I guess I definitely know the guys at Magic Rock were kind of like, the guys at Magic Rock were definitely aiming towards Pliny the Younger when they produced Unhuman, and since then, especially really recently, there's been Double Axe and there's been Tickle Monster. We're trying to, the UK beer scene is trying to edge towards that kind of like. I mean,
Rob, I'm gonna have to send you some
order
Irish. I'm going to have to send you an Irish double IPA. It will cure you of your obsession of Pliny the Elder. I'm telling you, it will absolutely cure you of that obsession.
I'm not obsessed.
To touch that beer.
I'm not obsessed at all. I mean, I had Simtra from Knee Deep when I were in California, which is incredible. Same hops as Younger and all that. But my point being, I mean, I think these breweries of certain stature are kind of aiming for these beers because it's kind of seen as important to kind of like nail that. Out of the three, I've only had Unhuman so far. I'll get Tickle Monster on Monday. I ain't had Double Axe yet. I might buy it online if it's worth a go. I'm not an Axe Edge fan, just as it happens. But for the people who's had them all, which one is topping the bill at the moment?
I'm going to say to you this. Pliny the Elder is an overrated bottle of beer. And I'm sorry.
No, Younger, not
people.
Elder.
Even the Younger is overrated. I'm sorry. There are better beers out there from European beer producers than Pliny the Elder or Pliny the Younger.
I personally
I'm really
rate
sorry.
Hop extracts. They're using hop extracts.
Elder. I rated Halcyon better than that.
Yeah, but as far as that kind of like that triple IPA.
Cannonball is Pliny the Elder, but you know that was a bottle of Pliny that was like 2 weeks old. It wasn't fresh. I just got a tap.
For a second there, I thought Steve talking about Cannonball.
It was a 2-week-old Cannonball versus it was 2-week-old Pliny the Elder versus a 2-week-old Cannonball.
No, it was about 4-week-old Cannonball.
4-week-old Cannonball.
So like,
as soon as anyone says anything about Cannonball, I'm expecting Steve or Mark to perk up straight away.
I don't like Cannonball. Don't look at me.
Yeah, that's golden glory.
Cannonballs.
Golden glory all the way.
I do agree that people go fucking nuts over Russian River beers over here, and they are good, but I think we should respect our own UK breweries and drink their double IPAs and triple IPAs when they're fresh and give them the respect they deserve and not kind of belittle them and say they're not as good as Pliny, which is obviously...
Come on, stick your hands up. Come on, everybody. Come on, come on.
Right now, let's
Stick your
drink
hands up to
fresh,
your local
right?
beers.
I'm banging the top of my laptop. Drink fresh.
I think a big part of it is that, you know, and this is a big thing that's driven the UK sort of craft beer scene is we've been over to the States, we've been over to Portland and Oregon, and we have drinking super fresh Deschutes beer and Ninkasi, and it's been absolutely fantastic. And that was the big thing that drove us to like look out for like kind of beers that were like this, and we couldn't get them in the UK. And then so that's what led us into homebrewing, but then that also led us into the breweries like Magic Rock and Thornbridge and Beavertown, you know, all those great breweries who'd obviously been inspired in part by what the guys had gone to the US and drank and wanted to replicate. And I think I'm not saying that the UK brewery scene is being driven by the US. It's far from it.
Not driven, inspired.
Oh, it is now.
It's inspired by, and I think that we're in a place where actually we're kind of starting to do them. It's like rock and roll. As I said, people say the Americans might have invented rock and roll, but we took it and we knocked it up a notch. And I think that's where we are right now. We're kind of like saying, right, you've done this. We're gonna brew some beers just as good as what you've done, and that's what we're doing.
I think you guys are suffering from the same problem that we are, which is this like pseudo-American drunk hangover in relation to beer styles. I think if you talk about the UK beer scene, right? The UK beer scene up to about 2 years ago was all about being very pro-UK beer styles. In Ireland, we were very about Irish beer styles, and we've suddenly, like you guys, have taken this like sudden left-hand turn towards American beer styles, and specifically West Coast beer styles. I think it becomes this sort of thing of like a trendsetter, hipster slash almost de rigueur following.
Yeah, I would maybe disagree slightly on that. I could see that maybe 2 years ago happening. I think that what the UK beer scene is doing is actually yes, that happened, but people have looked a little bit wider, and that's why you've seen people brew on. You've seen people like, well, let's brew that obscure East German style of goes.
The one Magic Rock.
To do other things, to do pilsners, to revisit old beer styles that maybe people haven't brewed in a while. But then that's happening in the US as well. And I think it's always going to be hard to divorce the UK and US. We have such a close relationship.
To a certain extent, we were following them, but now I don't necessarily think we're leading them, but I think we're kind of drawing parallel a little bit.
But this is the danger for like the sort of traditional UK brewer who wants to do a diacetyl heavy bitter. To be honest, you're only going to satisfy the diehard camera fan, and that, to be honest, that would be sad if breweries just fall away because they want to think they're brewing what they think the UK drinker wants, and palates are good.
Put this in perspective, just for 1 second. Put this in perspective. The US right now is going through this real revolution around sour beers and everything else. Okay, in terms of its growth. And sour beers is actually probably, if you take all the different beer styles in the US, this is actually the one area of craft beer or artisan beer that's actually on the growth. How would you say the UK's sour beer scene is actually growing? And if from my perspective as an outsider, I'm looking at it, I don't think it's growing at all in the UK.
No.
I think in London it's fucking
2015 it'll be sour beer, yeah?
You're too cautious for the moment. Too small, too cautious.
just so
Next year it'll be all about sours.
I mean, it's like everybody's going to do Berlin Weiss because Berlin Weiss it's a more kind of like it's a more accessible.
You've just taken the Brewdog line with that, Rob. You literally just robbed Brewdog's line for that in terms of
but everybody's done it.
I said it as a Brewdog fan.
No, but I mean, Brody started the whole Berlin Weiss thing, and Brewdog did it with a Magic Rock, did a Berlin Weiss, because it's a convenient way of doing a a sour, so everybody wants to do a sour.
It is.
But what's the most convenient, time, kind of like cautious kind of way of making a sour beer? And that's a Berliner Weiss.
Rob,
Put it in a barrel.
Lactic acid, drop it in.
Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately, though, I don't think Brodies have done it the right way, how American brewers have actually done it.
Yeah, because
More
I
than
don't
one way to make a sour beer.
Americans aren't doing that.
Then I'm-
Americans aren't doing Berliner Weiss. I mean, they're doing wild ales, and a lot of time they're kind of like blends from white labs of Lactobacillus and Brettanomyces and Pediocarpus and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, but we shouldn't look
Ever
to
had
America.
have done a true English lambic?
Well, we haven't looked
It's a very expensive beer, apparently.
but we haven't looked at European brewers, have we? We need to look to
Appellation
closer to home.
brew lambic outside of Belgium. If you brew anything outside of Belgium that is you think is a lambic, it's a sour beer.
Yeah.
Hand up. Come on, take your hand up.
You know, it is.
Doing it.
You know, the whole thing about sort of sour beer is that yes, they're brew. You know, I take Rob's point and I agree with Rob's point. Berliner Weiss is a very easy way of doing a sour beer style. I completely agree with that. But you know,
But
breweries.
it's not difficult to brew.
It's not
and
difficult
lots
to
of
brew,
brewers
and
have done it.
breweries can do it.
And Brodies are especially good at brewing sour beers.
Yes.
They
Well,
are.
hang on. That depends if it's Berliner Weiss, whether you're doing it via lactic acid or whether you're actually doing it via lactobacillus. There's two different things.
There are more than two different ways of making sour beer. There are a load of different ways.
a lot more.
All right.
Sour in the primary and sour in the secondary.
Okay, guys.
Let's just calm it
Okay.
down.
Sorry. I'm gonna.
I'm totally calm. All our Brodies do good. Sour beers.
I'm gonna put, guys. I'm
amazing.
gonna put a pin in the map here. That I think this has gone beyond craft wanker now.
No, Mark, you are wrong.
It's only just scratching the surface.
I think what we should do here at this point is we should give props to Jada at Magic Rock, who's not at Magic Rock anymore, for her marvellous kiss, which won an award at the World Beer Cup. I think we should all say well done to Magic Rock for their
Magic
award.
Rock. Magic Rock have brewed a beer that's kicked the ass out of the Americans. So you know.
I'm sure lots of you have had it. It's called Salty Kiss. There's a gooseberry version and a lime version and a
I love
salty
salty.
version.
This is
So talking about sour beers, that's a world-beating gold medal beer. So let's all say well done to Magic Rock for that.
But when it comes to sour beer, there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I think that's right to the point earlier on. It was like,
Right.
there are sour beer, and British
No,
brewers
Mark, we're still
aren't
talking,
doing
sorry.
all of them.
Okay. I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. Thank you very much for being part of this. This has been going on for almost 3 hours now. Despite the little technical hits at the beginning, which I apologise for, but this has been amazing. I thank you all for being a part of this.
Mark, did we not set it like a Guinness World Record with this?
I don't know. I don't know if we have a set a benchmark for the ultimate, for the peak of craft wankerish. If people need to redefine craft wankers now, I don't
I think
know.
we've redefined craft wankerism this evening. I think we've taken it to a new level.
But
I
Chris,
think that's the world record for edges and taps in one night.
can I just say, Chris, Emma, Steve, Matt, Ian, Carl, Rob, Michael, Miles, thank you so much for being part of this live Lockin. It's our first one we've ever done, and we appreciate your support for this. We appreciate you actually sticking around, because we were saying on the podcast for ages, people may drop out and you can have a spot. And people are asking, are there any spots? No, people won't leave. There's no
Created a desire.
It's like a proper Lockin.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to
It is a proper Lockin, isn't it?
And we really appreciate it, but it's time to wrap it up, I think, because fuck it, I'm tired. I've almost got my barley wine, and I think it's time.
Finish your barley wine, Mark.
Yeah, this barley wine, by the way. Can I say this barley wine, despite its alcohol volume is 15.2%, it is gorgeous. I can understand why Melissa Cole mentioned it in her book. I love you, Melissa Cole. I'm such a fan. If I haven't made it clear on the podcast. This is it's gorgeous. It's sweet. It's fruity. Oh, jeez. We need more women in the beer industry, by the way. Let's put that out there. I've loved having conversations with you guys all night, and the beers you've been describing have been amazing. And this is, I mean, fuck it. This is amazing. We've had people actually watching this shit. It's great. So thank you.
And
very
there's
much.
still people
Actually,
watching
Mark,
this shit, aren't
just
there?
before you go any further, bear in mind we have actually had a better viewership than Brewdog did when they launched Hashtag 2014. High fives all round. Come on.
And America's only just coming online, so we're gonna be here for another 3 hours.
Yeah. And we've just had a fantastic comment actually to probably finish off the evening. Again from Rowan, who's still watching. Well done for a great chat. It was like being in the pub with mates. I'm in next time. Lockin.
There we
that sums it up.
go.
It has been
Like
we've all been sat in the bar drinking the best beers that they've got, draining those beers dry. It's been a fantastic evening.
The difference being everyone's buying their own drinks and not hoping that someone else is buying the next round.
Good point.
Because craft beer is expensive.
It is. Yeah.
New to be.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mark and Steve.
Guys, you're amazing. Thank
Have
you.
a great evening and have a great Sunday. Because it's Sunday now.
Sunday snoozing. Yes, thank you.
Sunday's gonna hurt.
And bacon.
All the bacon.
Bacon,
Hashtag
everybody.
All
Bacon.
of it. All of the bacon.
Bacon for all.
I wish you all a
Okay.
great night, and I wish you great the rest of the year, and great Christmas, and great 2015.
Oh, we'll
And I
see
love you all.
Mark and
You're
Bruno.
amazing.
Hang on, Mark. Don't
Do you,
turn it
Mark?
off yet. There's only one person that can finish the lock-in for us. Ian, let's have your closing line, mate.
Ding, 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 ding. That is last orders, motherfuckers. That means everyone clear the fuck out of the bar. Pay your bills. Get the fuck out. Get home safely. And we'll see you again next time.
All right. Night, motherfuckers.
And that's the end. Stopping broadcast. Good night.
Oh, yeah.